streetlights golden gleaming, our love was more than just a dream. But shadows crept where hearts should grow, and now I'm lost in the afterglow. Oh baby, why'd you let me go? Left me standing in the cold night's flow. The echoes hum where whispers lay, but your love's a ghost that fades away. Your touch once soft as falling rain now lingers only in my pain. The jukebox hums a mournful tune, a heart that broke too soon, too soon. Oh baby, why'd you let me go? Left me standing in the cold night's flow. The echoes hum where whispers lay, but your love's a ghost that fades away. The stars above still shine the same, but they can't warm a heart in flames. I hold the past like it's my own, but all I feel is cold alone. Oh baby, why'd you let me go? Left me standing in the cold night's flow. The echoes hum where whispers lay, but your love's a ghost that fades away. The streetlight hums a lonely tune tonight. Your shadow lingers in its fading light. A crumpled note lies broken on my floor. Your voice is gone, but echoes even more. The jukebox spins, but every song feels wrong. A melody of you is all I long. I hold a picture frayed around the edge, a memory that's perched upon a ledge. Faded photograph, you're all I see, a ghost of love that's haunting endlessly. Your smile is frozen, trapped in black and white, a shadow in my dreams that holds me tight. The diner buzzes, but it feels so still. The coffee's cold, but time bends to my will. I trace your name in frost upon the glass. Each moment with you feels too far to grasp. The clock ticks soft, but each chime breaks my heart. A rhythm cruel that keeps us worlds apart. The
How many of you would like to see impeachment hearings? No. That was the wrong answer. Let me try it again. How many of you would like to see impeachment hearings? No. Can someone bring some coffee out for the CPAC?
I know.
We've got to keep this House majority. How many of you agree with that? How many of you would like to see impeachment hearings? No.
What's
That was
up,
the wrong
everybody?
answer.
This will be my theme song
How many
for
of you would
a
like
little
to
while.
see impeachment hearings? No.
Yes, we do. We do want to see impeachment hearings. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the stream. Things are a little different. Things got moved around this weekend. Trying to figure it all out again. How's everybody doing? Welcome to Tuesday. Another day of wild news breaking. I was last live on Saturday. Lots of stuff happened since Saturday. Hold on. There we go. Oh, now you can see me. Hello. Yeah. Lots of stuff happening since Friday. Or since Saturday. Let's see. This weekend I got to spend some time doing production work though, for my music, which was really fun. I tried to kind of like unplug a little bit for like a day or as much as I could. But I still have 5 pages of links and stories and headlines and videos and updates and things that I'd like to go over. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into everything. My computer is humming along. Definitely not having a hard time running everything. Definitely not. But yeah, we got a lot to get through. So let's get started. We'll get started with this morning. Pete Hegseth had a press briefing this morning, talking about just some developments in the Strait of Hormuz and with the Iran war. So let's go ahead. It was 36 minutes. I found a 3-minute video here from ASIN on Twitter. So we'll just watch that to get an idea of what this holy man has to say about the war in Iran.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. I know you slightly addressed this already, but just on the Strait of Hormuz, is opening the strait an essential objective to Operation Epic Fury, or is that the job of those other countries? And then secondly, without asking you to comment on things that you can't talk about, what is your message to Americans who love the president and strongly believe in him, but are very worried about this notion of boots on the ground?
Well, first on the Strait of Hormuz, our core objectives from this podium, from day one, from me, from the chairman, from the president, from the vice president, from Secretary Rubio and others have been clear. Defense missile production and missile programs, so their entire missile program, defense industrial base and production ability to build, and Navy and power projection.
Which they have ramped up, okay? Their missile production is still on target, as Iran. They're still producing around 10,000 Shahed drones a month. That has not been impacted. And they just unleashed yesterday a huge barrage of missiles that we were told wouldn't happen. They are being degraded. They have been completely stopped. They have been obliterated. All of this is propaganda and just straight up lies. The Iranian missile defense and drone program are full steam ahead, barreling right through, seem to have no issue with keeping up and keeping ahead of U.S. arms production, right? We talked about how we only produce 100 interceptors per year. They want to ramp that up to 400 per year, but that is going to take months to do. And we're competing with a military that is producing 10,000 drones per month. I don't think we have reliable figures on their rockets and missiles, but their Shahed drones, which cost anywhere from $7,000 to $15,000 to produce each one, whereas each interceptor missile is over $1 million. So yeah, we are far behind, and they are definitely keeping up.
So those have, and then of course, wrapping it all is Iran's never going to have a nuclear weapon. So those have been very clear. Defeating the Navy is a core part of ensuring they can't project that kind of power. But ultimately, I think the president's truth this morning lays that out very well, that this Strait of Hormuz issue, which we've set the conditions for success, and we will make sure Iran knows that very clearly, is not just a United States of America problem set. We've been willing to lead. President Trump's led the entire time, but it's not just us. So ultimately, I think other countries should pay attention when the president speaks. He's proven that when he speaks, he means something. And he's pointing out, might want to start learning how to fight for yourself. It's something some of us have been saying for quite some time. You can't just have flags. You have to have formations. You can't just have a few ships. You have enough to affect change. Those things matter in a dangerous world with ascendant adversaries. That's why the chairman's talking about our industrial base. That's why we're launching the Arsenal of Freedom tour to revive our defense industrial base. President Trump doing it in a way that nobody else has.
The Freedom Tour, more like the
President Trump and
scramble
boots on the ground. I don't understand why the base, which they have already, they understand, wouldn't have faith in his ability to execute on this. Look at his track record of pursuing peace through strength, America first outcomes. What he's simply saying, and it's exactly true, and I've said from this podium too, we're not going to foreclose any option. You can't fight and win a war if you tell your adversary what you are willing to do or what you are not willing to do, to include boots on the ground. Our adversary right now thinks there are 15 different ways we could come at them with boots on the ground. And guess what? There are. So if we needed to, we could execute those options on behalf of the President of the United States and this department. Or maybe we don't have to use them at all.
Almost every single option that we have for a ground invasion, we would be almost completely stopped right as we were getting onto whatever beach if we're paratroopering in, dropping, military from planes, from, large personnel planes that would drop them over Iran, over enemy airspace. We can't get to the island of the Karg Island without going through the Strait of Hormuz, which is basically a suicide mission. Larak Island, which is closer to the opening of the Strait of Hormuz, would also be a suicide mission as well. It's double the size, or a little bit larger than the island of Iwo Jima, which took 70,000 troops to overtake, and we lost 10% of that. So we would have to be prepared to lose thousands of military personnel, of our soldiers, Marines, what have you, whatever we would be sending in. And then they're talking about, we'll get to it in a little bit. There's a video I believe I saved of speedcraft hoverboats that would essentially storm the coast and get people in. It doesn't matter how fast you get. If they know you're coming, right? We're still going to suffer huge losses. So even if he frames it this way, as we have a ton of options, it's all going to lead to one outcome, and that is huge losses for the United States military.
Maybe negotiations work, or maybe there's a different approach. The point is to be unpredictable in that. Certainly not let anybody know what you're willing to do or not do. But if anybody has internalized the lessons of Iraq and Afghanistan as the first one, President Trump, to call them out for what they are, he's not going to repeat those lessons. And I think I've been very clear about that from the podium.
He's not going to repeat the lessons. Okay, and also, in order to negotiate, you have to not kill all of the people that you're negotiating with, right? Or not allow Israel to intercede and literally take out all of the intermediaries and those who were in talks and part of the negotiations, right? This just dropped not too long ago. Was about an hour ago this morning. China-Pakistan proposed 5-point plan on Gulf crisis. China and Pakistan issued a joint 5-point initiative calling for an immediate ceasefire, rapid launch of peace talks, and measures to stabilize the Gulf and wider Middle East. It includes immediate ceasefire and humanitarian access to all war-affected areas, launch peace talks as soon as possible, safeguard sovereignty of Iran and Gulf states, with all parties committing to peaceful resolution of the disputes and refraining from use of the threat or the threat of use of force during peace talks. Number 3, security of non-military targets, protect civilians and halt attacks on non-military and critical infrastructure, including energy and nuclear sites, fully adhere to international humanitarian law. Secure shipping in the Strait of Hormuz and restore safe commercial passage, protect the security of ships and crew members stranded in the Strait of Hormuz, and allow the early and safe passage of civilian and commercial ships, and restore normal passage through the strait as soon as possible. And meanwhile, you have China putting together this 5-point plan. They're not restricted in the Strait of Hormuz. They're currently, and neither is Pakistan, they are not being blockaded by Iran. And Iran is asking for basically toll payments from shipping companies in the Chinese yuan. So China is not suffering from this in a sense of, they're not getting things from the Strait of Hormuz. So for them to flex, their kind of like influence in the region, working with Pakistan, it serves them in a sense, but it doesn't directly benefit them on the surface of it, right? And the last one was reinforce UN-led multilateralism and pursue a comprehensive peace framework under international law. Okay, and that's just this 5-point initiative down here. That just came out this morning. Last night, or yesterday, we have Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, talking about hitting civilian infrastructure and non-military sites. Normally, I don't really like to listen to this lady talk. Like I said, I'm all about equal rights, but with her, I'm also about equal lefts. So let's listen to what she has to say to this reporter.
The president posted this morning about his threat that on leaving Iran, he said we might blowing up and completely obliterating all of their electric generating plants, oil wells, Harg Island, and possibly all desalinization plants. Under international law, striking civilian infrastructure like that is generally prohibited. Why is the president threatening what would amount to potentially a war crime with the U.S. military? And how do you square that with the administration repeatedly saying that the U.S. does not target civilians?
Now, a normal person, right, would be like, whoa, whoa, my boss is talking about committing a war crime? That's unacceptable. I'm going to go ahead and resign because I don't want to be complicit in a war crime or in an administration that is committing war crimes on a regular basis, right? Not Caroline Leavitt. Not Caroline Leavitt. She's going to say whatever she wants to say. She is going to support war crimes on behalf of the Trump administration. Full stop. No holds barred. Let her rip.
Look, the president has made it quite clear to the Iranian regime at this moment in time, as evidenced by the statement that you just read, that their best move is to make a deal, or else the United States Armed Forces has capabilities beyond their wildest imagination, and the president is not afraid to use them. That's not what I said, Garrett.
It is what you said.
Potential for a reason, because I'm sure some experts are telling you that in your ear to try to ask me that question. Of course, this administration and the United States Armed Forces forces will always act within the confines of the law. But
No,
with
it doesn't.
respect to achieving the full objectives of Operation Epic Fury, President Trump is going to move forward unabated, and he expects the Iranian regime to make a deal with the administration.
Now, these are questions. She says she's trying to frame this some rogue expert is trying to manipulate you into asking these questions. These are all people they allow in the White House press room. Okay? All of these people that are here represent news publications and are journalists from usually pro-Trump, pro-MAGA, pro-America First, pro-Christian nationalism, news organizations. And you have Caroline Leavitt being like, meh, you're starting to sound a little bit like fake news. You're starting to sound like you're making shit up. I didn't say he's going to commit a war crime. You did. You did. Because when you attack civilian infrastructure and then defend it, that's defending a war crime. It doesn't matter if you said the word war crime. What you described is a war crime. And your complicity and support of it. So, yeah, you did. You lying bitch. Next up. Just in, this is from yesterday as well. President Trump has, according to Wall Street Journal, informed aides that he is willing to end the U.S. war on Iran, even if the Strait of Hormuz remains largely closed. The plan now is to pressure Tehran diplomatically to restore the free flow of trade. If that fails, Washington would press allies in Europe and the Gulf to take the lead on reopening the strait. The officials said, according to the report, U.S. officials determined that a direct mission to reopen the Strait of Hormuz would risk prolonging the war beyond President Trump's stated 4 to 6 week timeline, which we are rapidly closing in on 6 weeks. I believe this is week 5. Instead, the strategy has shifted toward degrading Iran's military capabilities while winding down active operations. And after he says that, futures jumped 32.75, almost a full percent. Look at that. We were sitting down at 630.70 or 6,370, and we jumped all the way to 6,420, dude. I mean, again, we go back to it. It's just stock market manipulation. It's just easing fears. Even if he has signaled so far 12 different times that the war was going to be ending soon or rapidly or within the next few days, or we're in negotiations and then Israel kills the negotiators and it comes back. It's literally all just fucking market manipulation. He's just saying shit so that people spend money and that the stocks keep going up. Because if stonks happy, Trump happy. Trump able to bomb Iran more, right? Stonks up good. Stonks up very good. Stonks down bad. I lie, make stonk fix. Good. Yeah. Anyway. So this came out on Sunday. This is from Pope Leo. Absolute bombshell. Pope Leo directly rebukes Pete Hegseth for trying to frame the Iran war as a Christian holy crusade. The Pope declares God will not listen to their prayers because their hands are full of blood, a devastating moral condemnation of the Pentagon.
Ukraine, Leo dedicated his Palm Sunday homily to the insistence that God is the, quote, King of Peace who rejects violence, saying, brothers and sisters, this is our God, Jesus, King of Peace, who rejects war, whom no one can justify to use war. He does not listen to the prayers of those who wage war, but rejects them, saying, even though you make many prayers, I will not listen. Your hands are full of blood. As leaders on all sides of the Iran war have used religion to justify their actions, U.S. officials, especially Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, has invoked their Christian faith to cast the war as a Christian nation trying to vanquish its foes with military might. In Ukraine, Leo dedicated his palm.
Yeah. So when you got the Pope saying, listen, dude, I'm pretty sure God's not on your side when it comes to this whole thing. That's a pretty damning condemnation. Not to, no pun intended, but that's kind of where we're at. You got it. You got it, computer. You can do it. There you go. There you go. Good job. All right. Let's move on. Actually, I want to find the other video from Caroline Leavitt because someone asked her a question related to that. Yeah. There's been no, that's another one. We have 3 videos from Caroline Leavitt today, unfortunately. Where is it? Did I not save it? Oh, maybe I put it at the bottom. It might be in other headlines. Okay, so we'll talk about this guy, Dmitry Laskaris. Today, along with a dozen other foreign and Iranian journalists, I boarded a civilian vessel in Bandar Abbas and was given a 1-hour tour of the Strait of Hormuz. My complete report can be found here on YouTube.
So we're now into the waters of the Strait of Hormuz. I would say we're about a couple of kilometers from the shore. And we were told we're only going to get 20 minutes out here because there are drones in the sky. And the genocidal Israeli entity has a long and sordid record of murdering journalists with lethal impunity. So unfortunately,
over 280 journalists have been murdered so far by Israel since October 7th, 2023. 280. 70 were killed in World War I and World War II combined.
we're not going to be able to spend too much time out here. But I'll give you a good panoramic view right now of what we can see.
Let's see,
So
I didn't watch this whole video, but let's see how long it is. 17 minutes.
9, 2026 from Bandar Abbas in Iran. I'm currently standing outside the entrance to the passenger marine terminal. We are going to take a boat out into the strait to see what we can see. We had to change our plan this morning. The plan originally, and this came straight from the mouth of the gracious governor of the province in which Bandar Abbas is situated. We had tea with him last night in a cafe overlooking the Strait of Hormuz. We asked him if we could visit Hormuz Island and Kamesh, which is reputed by resistance groups to be a heavily fortified island. It's the largest island in the Persian Gulf, and it's close to here. And he assured us that if the security conditions permitted it, we would be able to visit both of those islands today by boat. But we were told this morning that the port facility at Hormuz Island had been struck overnight by drones, and therefore we are not going to be able to actually visit the islands, but are going to have to just go out quickly on the water and come back. So why don't you tell us, what your feelings are about this voyage, other than if it happens, it happens.
Well, I just want to clarify that this is not a suicide boat. All right, this is a civilian vessel going out into the Strait of Hormuz to document what could be history, right? They've closed down the Strait of Hormuz, and there's a new economic order shaping in which they are allowing vessels to move through with certain permissions based on whether or not they are conducting oil transactions in the dollar. Now, I think that's a big deal. I think you do too.
Yeah.
That's why we're on this vessel, and we're going to go see it for ourselves.
So in the past 48 hours, we've had some spicy experiences. Why don't you summarize for us what led up to this particular voyage?
Oh, okay. I'm the perfect person to tell the story because I was the most freaked out about it. So we were in Bushehr 2 days ago, and every location we went to, we discovered later on, got bombed at a certain point. Now, these are locations that we visited initially because they had already been bombed. So you think there's no point to bomb it again. One of the places we went to, a weather station, you posted a video about it, completely demolished. There's nothing to bomb there again. Well, when we leave, we find out it got bombed. And on top of that, the hotel we were in, right outside of it, maybe 100 feet outside of it, bombed.
Right after we left the hotel.
Right after we had left the hotel, a couple of hours. So I was paranoid, at least. I was thinking maybe it's either a coincidence or there's a message. Well, yesterday we get to Bandar Abbas, Minab actually, which is right outside Bandar Abbas. and we visited the little girls' school. Actually, it's for boys and girls. The little school at Menab that was bombed by a Tomahawk missile. 168 people died. We filmed it. We documented it. It was very emotional and impactful. 5 or 10 minutes after we left, it got bombed. So now the team is like, okay, this is maybe too much of a coincidence. We're potentially being targeted, and this coincided with the news that 2 journalists in Lebanon were targeted and killed by the Israelis.
You left out something that happened on the way to Minab from Bandar Abbas. Remember the antenna? When we were out there, there was a strike.
right.
Right. So we saw a civilian, or we saw what remained of some kind of antenna facility. It was completely demolished, and while we were out there, it sounded like a drone strike. It wasn't in our immediate vicinity, but it was close enough for us to hear it.
Yeah, it was very loud, and I started running. You didn't. You're a little too calm. But yeah, it seems like everywhere we were going just kept getting hit, you know? So we felt like we're being targeted, and so we had a crazy drive home. We had to like abandon our phones. We got off the bus, grabbed random cars, and had a really long journey home.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, the only way to protect free speech is to keep speaking.
That's right.
Our brother Ali is with us today. Ali, could you tell us what we're about to see?
And we were supposed to go to a port, and from that port to the Kheshmu Island. But I think after this media tour, it is somehow, I can say, nearly for 10 days we are here. And this is the first time that Zionists are ahead of their schedule, because they used to bomb the place that we were there before, but now they targeted the location we are supposed to go there. So this is the first time they are ahead of their schedule. But fortunately, we found a way and a vessel that we are getting close to the oil tankers and some cargo vessels that you can see that we are getting close to them to see what is the current situation in the Strait of Hormuz and the fabricated narratives about it.
Have you managed to figure out if these ones are transiting through the strait, or are they waiting for permission?
I think so, and I got some information that the whole Strait of Hormuz is some 33 kilometers wide, but the shipping lane is actually very narrow. Some only 3 kilometers you can use in the Strait of Hormuz for shipping lanes, and there are only 2 lanes, one close to the Persian Gulf, one close to the Strait of Hormuz, and the other one close to the Oman. And this Strait of Hormuz, it connects Iran from the north and Oman in the south. So it is a key waterway, and as I did some research, I can say that 20% of the world's oil consumption passes through this key waterway. So it can have a very strong impact on world economy, and a large portion of LNG, mostly produced by Qatar, also passes from these key waterways. And now 30 days into the US-Israeli war on Iran, still Iran maintains the control of the Strait of Hormuz. Maybe you would see that some news agencies say that the Strait of Hormuz is shut down. No, it is under control. And as Iranian officials kept saying that it is open for allies and friends and those who are not involved in this war, but it is absolutely close to the US and Israeli regimes and their allies, and those countries, they let their soil to be used on attacks on the Iranian nation. This strait is close for them.
That's a lot of ships.
It is indeed.
Several dozen just in the immediate area.
Just within, on this side of the vessel, there's several dozen.
Yeah, there's what's on the other side.
Over here. That island off in the distance, is that Hormuz Island? Behind all
Let me ask them.
All right, so we're gonna have to stop it there because I got a lot to get through and I don't have a ton of time. So, anyway, go check out this video from Dimitri Lascaris. It's there's like 10 more minutes after that you can watch of them just seeing all the boats of the tankers and resource vessels that are trying to move all of these goods through the Strait of Hormuz that are, forced to dock there pretty much, or are forced to stay there unless they can pay a $2 million Chinese yuan fee, essentially, toll. We'll move on to this from yesterday. This is a great video. So Iran carried out a deception on the skies over Dubai, causing the United Arab Emirates about $100 million. Iran allegedly launched a missile equipped with flare decoys, prompting air defenses in Dubai to fire hundreds of interceptor missiles unnecessarily, reportedly depleting about 50% of their defensive stock. Now, I don't know if that's 100% true, but it was shared by Dropsite News. Essentially, Iran launched this missile and made it look like it was going to be cluster munitions that they've been launching, but it was just full of flares. And if you know anything about on military planes and such, they have defensive capabilities where they will launch flares out of the back end of the planes in order to divert heat-seeking missiles towards the flares instead of the plane, right? And he shared this saying, Iran basically depleting UAE's interceptors with fireworks, more evidence of Chinese technology at work. So that was good to see. From Sunday, Iran's Speaker of the Parliament provides trading advice to investors trading U.S. markets. Pre-market so-called news or truth is often just a setup for profit-taking. Basically, it's a reverse indicator. Do the opposite. If they pump it, short it. If they dump it, go long. See something tomorrow, you know the drill. And this then happened. Where is it? Did I not save it up here? Oh. I guess I didn't save it up here, but they played it. They played that this entire tip right here from the Speaker of Parliament, and it worked. Whoever played it made money following this tip. So, as we just saw a second ago too from yesterday, straight up, it's just market manipulation. He's just saying these things to ease the market so that way investors are more comfortable keeping their money in stocks. Okay, from Sunday, IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, says the Iraq heavy water production plant, which Iran reportedly had been attacked on Friday, has sustained severe damage and is no longer operational. Now, we know that, we have the president and the White House and the State Department or the War Department or whatever talking about how, Iran wanted to have nuclear weapons. They wanted nuclear weapons. There's no proof of that. And we have proof in the opposite direction of that, which, they had a fatwa, which basically is like a decree against nuclear weapons. The Ayatollah had basically put a kibosh on that. Like, we are not going to have a nuclear weapon. They were doing nuclear enrichment for nuclear power plants, and they are one of the only countries in the Middle East that allowed the IAEA to come in and inspect their uranium enrichment program. And before the war even started, they had offered to the United States in a round of negotiations to basically give up all of their enriched uranium. And then, Israel and the United States attacked, and they said, okay, well, that's off the table now. So they are guarding their enriched uranium in multiple sites, in suspected multiple sites around Iran. And that is one of the pretexts for Trump saying that we're going to do a ground invasion, is to go find and secure all of this enriched uranium. We wouldn't even need to do that had we just gone through the peace talks at the beginning of this entire conflict and said, you know, okay, yeah, you're offering to give up your enriched uranium. We'll take you up on that offer. The JCPOA was limiting them to how much enriched uranium they could have, and requiring them to report and to be inspected by the IAEA, which they were abiding by all of those terms of that treaty. President Trump is weighing a military operation to extract nearly 1,000 pounds of uranium from Iran, according to U.S. officials, a complex and risky mission that would likely put American forces inside the country for days or longer. Let's see if I can read this on the computer. You're going to let me read this article, Wall Street Journal? Nope. Let's see if we can watch this video.
These are Marines from the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit. They're highly trained and extremely flexible, meaning they can do all kinds of things, from storming beaches and parachuting onto islands to boarding ships for search and seizure operations. Now that the unit has arrived in the Middle East, it's opening up new military options for President Trump. A Marine Expeditionary Unit, or MEU, consists of about 2,200 Marines and sailors that typically operate out of 3 warships. In plain terms, there's a big ship that has a flight deck that can launch and recover different aircraft. Think of it as a mini aircraft carrier. There's a medium-sized ship with a flight deck and a large well deck that can launch watercraft. And there's a smaller ship that transports cargo, crew, and equipment. You can think of those ships as a mobile base that can go anywhere in the world and launch operations quickly without needing to set up some sort of ground base or fly in troops and equipment. The ships themselves are loaded with all kinds of different military hardware to provide a commander with options. There are F-35B fighter jets that can take off from the ship and strike targets. There are armored amphibious combat vehicles that bring Marines from ship to shore, then continue inland for various operations, like seizing and securing buildings. Landing craft air cushions can zip through the water and act as a barge to bring heavy equipment onto land. And tilt-rotor Ospreys and heavy-lift helicopters can be used to transport troops and equipment by air. Plus, the unit also has smaller boats for things like beach raids and smaller aircraft that can enable them to board ships. They also have attack helicopters. Because these units have so many different types of equipment and can perform so many different types of missions, they're often referred to as the military's Swiss Army knife, and they are in high demand around the world. So how could a MEU be used in the war against Iran? There are a bunch of possibilities. For one, the MEU could be used to raid or seize islands that have been militarized by Tehran, like those that sit in the Strait of Hormuz, the vital shipping lane that Iran has essentially shut down. The unit could also be part of an effort to seize Kirk Island, which is a launch point for 90% of Iran's oil exports. The U.S. has already bombed military sites on Kirk, leading some to speculate that Trump could try to seize it. But military strategists say an attempt to capture Kirk would be extremely risky and could also require a lot more troops and equipment. It's also possible the Marines could play a role in a convoy effort to escort ships through the Strait of Hormuz. They could do that by providing security on ships and also flying aircraft overhead. Alternatively, strategists say Marines could play a role in seizing ships that are carrying Iranian oil. The Marines could also potentially provide security at embassies or launch strikes from their ship. But there's another thing to consider here. The MEU could be used as military deception and basically draw Iran's attention to the Marines while some other operation is launched. The 31st MEU out of Japan is now officially in the Middle East, and the 11th MEU out of California is on its way. Along with them are other troops deploying, like the Army's 82nd Airborne Division, paratroopers that specialize in air assaults. As the war grinds on and the Strait of Hormuz remains closed, the Marines are just some of the boots-on-the-ground troops that are being sent to the Middle East.
All right, so that at least gives an idea of what a military invasion would look like. And essentially, they even said, too, that they might use it as a decoy. They might use it as a decoy operation to accomplish some other mission that we don't publicly know about, because I mean they're still releasing all of this information to the public essentially. We have pretty in-depth ideas about what they're trying to do and how they're trying to accomplish it. Along with let's talk about some of these civilian infrastructure bombings. Okay, a nuclear scientist just got killed in an airstrike in Iran, and honestly, I need to talk about this because Western media won't, and I think most people don't understand what they're looking at. As I've been explaining for weeks now in multiple threads, Israel, through Mossad, has been assassinating Iranian scientists for over a decade, and I genuinely think the Fakhrizadeh case is one of the most terrifying operations in modern intelligence history. This man was killed in 2020 by a remote-controlled AI-powered machine, guns smuggled into Iran in pieces over several months. The whole thing weighed a ton. It was mounted on a pickup truck on the side of the road and operated via satellite from a Mossad command center 1,600 kilometers away. 15 bullets fired in under 60 seconds. The AI compensated for the satellite delay, the recoil, and the speed of the car in real time. That's how far they're willing to go to eliminate Iranian brain power one by one. But here's what I find fascinating. The assassinations didn't break the ecosystem because it runs too deep, so they escalated. U.S. just bombed Iran's University of Science and Technology, one of the oldest and most prestigious in the country. And if you've been following me, you already know why this matters. These are the same institutions that took Iran from 58th to 4th in the world in nanotechnology in 20 years, that produced the engineers who designed the Arvand rocket engine and the maneuverable re-entry vehicles, that trained the physicists behind the MRBM and the IRBM leap to 4,000 kilometers on Diego Garcia. Now, that is not been substantiated, right? We don't have any proof of that happening, so I'm not sure about that. I've been writing about the scientific ecosystem for years, and everything happening right now is the logical continuation of what I already laid out. And I think that's the part nobody wants to say out loud. This war was never about nukes or regime change. I believe it's about dismantling the only sovereign state in the Middle East, and I mean the only one. Look at every other country in the region. Saudi Arabia outsources its entire defense to the Pentagon and couldn't fight a war in Yemen for 8 years without American logistics and still lost. The UAE bought F-35s in exchange for normalizing with Israel. Qatar hosts the largest U.S. air base in the region at Al Udeid. I probably said that wrong. Bahrain hosts the U.S. Fifth Fleet. Kuwait, Iraq, Jordan are military protectorates in everything but name. None of these countries design, manufacture, or deploy their own weapon systems. None of them have the indigenous defense industry. Their sovereignty ends where the next Lockheed Martin contract begins. If Washington calls tomorrow and says stop, they stop, because they literally cannot function without American hardware. Iran is the only country in the entire region that built everything from scratch under 40 years of total embargo, because nobody would sell them anything, and that's exactly why they're the target. They know the only way to stop this machine is to kill the people who built it. And when building them one by one wasn't enough to crack on the ecosystem too deep to break, they started bombing the universities directly. And I'll say this as clearly as I can. You don't bomb a university when you're winning a war. You bomb a university when you've realized the real threat was never the arsenal, it was the intelligence behind it, and you have no idea how to stop it. So we just bombed this university, the University of Science and Technology. And I mean, literally, you have scientists and teachers there being like, a month and a half ago, these rooms were bustling with students and teachers learning, and now they have been reduced to basically ghost towns. Apocalyptic warning for the global community. A top energy strategist admits the world must destroy 10 million barrels of daily demand to survive Trump's Iran war. Fuel prices will skyrocket so high that people will literally be forced to stop driving and flying. We are currently looking and preparing for $200 a barrel, okay? Before the war started, we were sitting at about 80 to 90 and getting closer to 70s, the $70 range. We've already gone up over 100 more than a few times. We've hit 115, I think is the highest we've gotten to so far. They're talking about 200 possibly by the middle of April or end of April if this war doesn't start to de-escalate pretty majorly. But even still, so many oil fields, natural gas fields, different types of energy resource centers in the Middle East have been damaged beyond repair to the point where even if we were to stop the war right now, the war stopped immediately and everything went back to, relative normal as it was before the war, we still prices wouldn't come down rapidly. Okay. We do have the strategic oil reserves and stuff that are maintained and obviously strategically released in order to ease the pressure of rising energy costs. But we only have so much before that runs out, or before we get to a point where, we can't go back and it's irreversible. So let's listen to this guy talk.
So we basically need to lose if nothing changes, that's of course the assumption in this question. If nothing changes, you need to take out probably 10 million barrels a day, something like that. Maybe 9, maybe 11. I mean, that's unheard of. I mean, COVID was 20, just to give you a number. That's when we got there, but that's a different story. Yeah, look, and what is interesting in this market is that we focus a lot on Brent prices, which is fair enough. For demand destruction, you want to look at product prices, because the users of the products are the ones who are going to shut in demand. So if you look at jet prices, they're super high, so people stop flying. Gasoline or gas oil prices are really high, so it becomes harder to truck and to do manufacturing.
Food prices go up too.
These prices are already at levels where you start to see demand destruction, but we need significantly more. So that's also why most forecasts would say, if we stay out for months, we have to price even higher than where we are already today. And I think
look at that. Look at that.
So
let's go back to this to end here. I want you to look at this chart. From March 2nd to March 30th, we've had almost a 60% increase in WTI, which I forget what the starts, and then Brent is the crude oil, which so that's like, oil before it's been refined. 60% increase per barrel. That's fucking crazy. That's nuts. Right? Unsustainable. Highly unsustainable. You will have a worldwide energy crisis, which we're already starting to move towards, if this doesn't change soon. Okay, so in Kuwait, this is from yesterday. Satellite images purport to show the fire damage at Kuwait desalination plant. Satellite imagery appears to show burn scars and smoke damage at a coastal power and desalination factory in Kuwait, consistent with NASA firms. Fire detections recorded on March 29th. The layout and coastal position matches the Doha West Power and Water Complex, Kuwait's largest such facility, producing about 2,400 megawatts of electricity and roughly 110 million gallons of water per day, nearly 40% of the national desalinated supply. So a lot of these countries, they don't have a fresh water source that is reliable or large enough to take care of all of their water needs. And that's not just drinking water. You can't use salinated water. You can't use salt water, seawater, for any type of irrigation. You can't use it for municipal stuff. It's highly corrosive, and it will degrade all of your water infrastructure. So you have to desalinize everything that comes out of the sea. And they rely on, this is how they get their water, essentially. Kuwait relies on desalination for around 90% of its drinking water. The damage is concentrated in the central generation area with visible scorching across multiple units and heat signatures extending toward nearby storage infrastructure. Kuwait has not named the site, but Qatar, condemning the strikes, said this morning that Iranian attacks targeted a power station and a water desalination plant in Kuwait. U.S. and Israeli strikes have damaged more than 65,000 civilian sites in Iran, according to UN and Red Crescent tally. Among them, a disturbingly high number of medical centers. We talked about that. So we look at that attack on the Kuwait desalination plant. We have been routinely attacking their civilian infrastructure and their energy infrastructure. And so when you have Iran retaliate against these countries that are basically proxies of the United States, either hosting United States military bases or acting on behalf of the United States in order to get security protection, Iran is going to retaliate. They have said, we will retaliate against these things. We will retaliate against your infrastructure just as you have aggressively attacked our own. Okay, so this is from an article from Kate Brown and Neve Gordon in the NY Books. I'm pretty sure I can read this on here. I don't think it's going to block me. On Friday, March 13th, nearly 2 weeks into the Lebanese front of Operation Royal Lion, Israeli forces bombed Barj Kalaoya, a village in the country's south. The strike destroyed a healthcare center, killing 12 doctors, paramedics, nurses, and patients. The only one severely injured worker survived. Among the victims, according to the journalist Lila Younes, reporting for Dropsite, was a paramedic who had spoken last fall at a memorial service for several colleagues killed by an Israeli strike during the previous war in Lebanon. Even if we are killed one by one, we will not abandon our duty. The U.S. and Israel's illegal war on Iran, launched in the late stages of negotiations to renew a nuclear deal, quickly spread to Lebanon. Hezbollah joined the fray on the second day after the U.S.-Israeli strike killed Ali Khamenei in Tehran. Israel has conducted near-daily airstrikes in Lebanon in the 15 months since the two countries signed a truce, killing more than 300 people, but since March 2nd, its fighter jets have been relentlessly bombing South Lebanon, Beirut, and other cities. It recently launched a ground incursion in the south, where in Iran, the U.S. and Israel are operating side by side. In Lebanon, Israel has taken the lead, with the U.S. providing arms and other supports. So we've been talking about that, how they have been attacking civilian infrastructure, paramedics. On Friday or Saturday, they triple striked. I was wrong. I said double tap. It was a triple strike on those Lebanese reporters that were killed on the road. And Israel claimed that they were part of a Hezbollah-backed or Hezbollah-funded news organization in Lebanon, with no verifiable proof. BBC Verify says footage and experts' analysis indicate a U.S. precision strike missile was likely used in a March 9th strike on a sports hall in Lamerd, Iran, where children were training, killing at least 21 people, including young girls. So you have Iran attacking these energy and civilian infrastructure mainly to cripple these other countries, to stop them from attacking on behalf of the United States and Israel. But before that's even happening, towards the beginning of the war, you have the U.S. bombing a school in Manab, killing 168 people, including majority of those people were children, and 21 people, including young girls that were training at a sports hall, like a soccer pitch. High-resolution satellite imagery reviewed by the BBC shows the sports hall and nearby residential buildings destroyed, where the adjacent IRGC compound appears to have remained undamaged. So we're going to claim that this is, we were attacking a military site. Well, why didn't we attack the military site? We only attacked the civilian infrastructure. As Dropsite's early reporting documented, the missile tore through a civilian gym packed with students during training sessions, triggering panic, collapsing debris, and continuous screaming as injured children were pulled from the rubble. Eyewitnesses described parents arriving to find bodies of teenage girls and young athletes, some killed instantly, others buried under concrete. Both BBC and Dropsite reports are linked below.
This is an Iranian military base, and this is a residential street about 150 meters away. It was on the street where a missile struck on the first day of the war. Part of an attack on the town, state media say, killed at least 21 people, including several children. Now, experts say the weapon used in the attack likely belonged to the US. Here's what we know. On the afternoon of the 28th of February, there were at least 2 strikes on Lamed, a town in the south of Iran. One was on a residential street, which is where we can see the missile. Another strike hit a community sports hall, where state media report children were playing volleyball. Its intended target may have been an Iranian military base next door, but it appears undamaged in satellite imagery. According to multiple Iranian state media outlets, 4 children were among those killed that day, including 12-year-old El Hamzairi, an avid volleyball player. The youngest victim was reportedly 2 years old. Footage we verified of the aftermath of the sports hall strike shows the entire side of the building blackened. Damage can also be seen on the roof, with blast fragments in the surrounding area. According to experts, the weapon most likely used on the residential street was a US precision strike missile.
So it's called a precision strike missile, yet we missed the fucking military target and killed the volleyball player and killed a 2-year-old kid. The fuck is wrong with us, bro? The fuck are we doing out here, dude? What is this?
It's also known as a prism. It can reach targets of up to 500 kilometers away. This war marks what's believed to be the first time this weapon has been used by the US military. That's according to the Department of Defense. We asked the US why it used a prism in a civilian area, but they declined to comment. America's most senior officer praised his troops' use of the system on the 13th of March.
In just the first 13 days of this operation, our artillery forces have made
Fuck
history.
that guy.
They fired the first precision strike missiles ever used in combat.
Fuck that guy. Fuck you, you fucking piece of shit. They call him Raisin Cain. They compare him to the fucking Cain and Abel story in the Bible. This dude is about murder, bro. He's about murder. That's what he does. That's what he does for a living. Fucking nuts. So I just want to say this too, because I don't know. Everyone that's here, thank you for hanging out. Please think about giving the channel a follow. Think about throwing me a subscription. Use your Amazon Prime to link to Twitch. You get a free Twitch Prime subscription per month. When I'm putting together these headlines and this list of stories, I don't have time to read every single article in depth and to watch every single video in depth. I rely on the people that are sharing these stories. I do as much due diligence as time allows for me. Obviously, I'm not going to share information on the channel that has not been vetted, that is not supported by fact and in-depth verification from trusted news organizations and sites. So a lot of times when I'm watching these videos for the first time, I'm watching them for the first time with y'all. And they just get me so... It's just like, it's ridiculous, dude. I sit there next to my wife on the couch and we'll be watching a show and I'll be going through different news stories and different things. And I'll just be like, I'll just blurt out of nowhere, like, what the fuck? Why? What is this? What is this headline even saying? What did we do? What are we doing? And it's just, you have to have a kind of a pretty steady mental bandwidth in order to take all this stuff in. And I do my best to deal with it all and to listen to it all and to read it all. But it takes a toll, man. All these stories, all these things that we're doing, staying up to date on all this news, it's rough. It is hard. Mentally taxing. Anyway. Absolutely remarkable. Iran is now earning twice as much from oil sales each day as it did before American and Israeli bombs started falling on February 28th. It may be pummeled on the battlefield, but the regime is winning the energy war. And we know this already. They are still exporting oil to China. They are still exporting And they're still making money off the tolls of the Strait of Hormuz. We really haven't stopped Iran from bringing in money, and if anything, we've eased oil sanctions to allow them to sell more oil. We're bombing and destroying all of their civilian infrastructure and calling it liberation, and then claiming to try and have them in a chokehold or trying to stop them from being able to progress, yet they are still able to sell oil. We want their enriched uranium, but we declined taking it before the war started during peace talks. Nothing about this war makes any fucking sense besides it is making lots of people lots of money, right? And we don't care who dies. We don't care who's being killed, civilians, military, what have you, right? It's just about making money. For all sides, for both sides of the war. White House statement tonight. President Trump does not bluff. He is prepared to unleash hell. Iran should not miscalculate again. Iran has been defeated militarily. Any violence beyond this point will be because Iran refused to understand they have already been defeated. Does that make any sense to you? It's like, imagine you're on the playground, or in school or whatever, and there's a fight going on, and the person on the ground that just got fucking laid out with a solid, jaw sock is being like, if you keep hitting me, you've already lost, even though I'm the one on the ground suffering. Like, I mean, it's the most juvenile defense of military aggression I think the world has ever fucking seen. We joke, but it honestly feels like the government is run by 12-year-old kids. 12-year-olds. That's what we have in power.
The president's preference is always peace. There does not need to be any more death
Bullshit.
and destruction. But if Iran fails to accept the reality of the current moment, if they fail to understand that they have been defeated militarily and will continue to be, President Trump will ensure they are hit harder than they have ever been hit before. President Trump does not bluff, and he is prepared to unleash hell. Iran should not miscalculate again. Their last miscalculation cost them their senior leadership, their Navy, their Air Force, and their air defense system. Any violence beyond this point will be because the Iranian regime refused to understand they have already been defeated and refused to come to a deal. President's
Craziness. And I used to wonder, I was like, how do these people sleep at night? How do they do this job knowing that they're just straight up lying through their teeth? And I think about it too. I'm like, can you tell me off the top of your head the press secretaries of the last two presidents? Can you tell me even 1% of the crazy things that they said while they were up at the podium talking to journalists? No, right? These people go up there. They know, hey, I'm in a huge high-profile position. I'm going to say whatever I need to say to get through this. Okay? I don't have necessarily direct blood on my hands. She's not making any military decisions. She's literally just a mouthpiece for the president, right? She can say the most outlandish shit that just is not rooted in fact or reality whatsoever. And within a year, even if she's not the press secretary anymore, if she leaves like halfway through the presidency or she makes it all the way through the entire term, a year after she's done at this job, no one's going to remember anything that she fucking said. Okay? You're going to have to go back and dig through and try and look up things that she was talking about or things that she may have said. Like, we move on, right? We have an incredibly short memory. And so the power that is granted from these jobs, that's going to stay. She's going to be able to take that to her next job. She's going to be able to take that to her next, position, wherever that might be, in the government, outside of the government, in the private sector, what have you. So it's so easy for these people to just lie and lie and lie and lie and lie and say outlandish things, and they're going to get away with it. Nothing's going to happen, right? Even if there was a government-wide accountability, after the Trump administration, this woman, she's not going to, what are they going to get her on? that she spoke out and defended the president, right? She's literally like basically untouchable, in my opinion. They're going to focus on the fall guys. They're going to focus on those who actually committed war crimes, hopefully, like Pete Hegseth, like Trump. Hopefully, they will be held accountable. I highly doubt it, because we don't really love to do that. And both sides of the aisle, as we've said before, are in favor of this war. Democrats are in favor of this war because a lot of them are war hawks and they wanted to attack Iran for a long time, or they want to see Trump fuck up and they're okay with blood. They're okay with bodies. And then you have the Republicans on the other side because they're just supporting the war because they support Donald Trump sycophantically. They don't care what he does. He's right all the time. They literally have a fucking hat that says Donald Trump is right about everything, or Donald Trump is always right. And might is right is their slogan. So, all right, I'm going to kind of breeze through these last few things because I still got a lot to go through. This quote from the Italian defense minister, Guido Crosetto, and I can say Guido because I'm an Italian. I am forced to know things that no longer let me sleep for what could happen in the coming weeks, for the effects it will have on the economy and our daily lives. I am forced to know things that no longer let me sleep. Think about that. Think about that statement. I am forced to know things that will no longer let me sleep. What? Bro, what? That's terrifying. And you have United States Congress people walking out of military briefings, classified military briefings, going, I have zero faith in whatever plan that we have in this war. I am less convinced after this military briefing that we have a plan, that we have an actionable idea of what we're doing in Iran. And that is bleeding over into their constituency because we have a poll here. Who's winning the war in Iran right now? The United States. In a Harris poll from March 26th, 76% of U.S. citizens think we're winning the war in Iran. Are you fucking crazy, bro? Gobble, 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 gobble up that propaganda. They're just eating it left and right, dude. And you have this meme down here, a reply. The American people are not intellectual, to put it mildly. Yeah, I think we understand that. I think we know that. Here we have Mehdi Hassan. There's a history of Israel bombing every time we're close to a deal with Iran. So we're talking about this before. We've taken out, or Israel has taken out a lot of the negotiators on the Iranian side before we can finish any type of actual negotiations with them. They end up getting killed.
This war was not about the nuclear program because
Do
they've
you
done
not
nothing
think? Well, that's actually the thing that they have said that makes sense to me. Like, I think I'm actually kind of with you in terms of I don't understand what the goals of this thing are. If we take it that the nuclear stuff and degrading the military, that's fine. But then why are you killing their leaders? That's the bit I don't understand.
Well, interestingly, they're not killing their leaders, right? They killed Khamenei, but the Israelis are doing much of the killing. They've killed the intelligence minister. They killed Ali Larijani. Now, let's just deal with what Israel wants, because what Israel wants is pretty clear to anyone watching. They want an unstable, weakened Iran that doesn't pose a threat to them. They don't care if it's a democracy. They don't care if it's a dictatorship. They don't care if it's civil war. They just want Iran off the table, right? And therefore, they're killing people who might do a deal with Trump. They've done this before. Last year in the 12-day war, they tried to kill a guy called Ali Shamkhani, who survived. Then they killed him now. He was a negotiator who Trump had been praising and reposting on social media. They killed him because they don't want Trump to do a deal with this guy.
Why not?
Because they don't want to negotiate a solution to this conflict. They want to keep going, the Israelis, until they wipe out everything they want to.
Yeah, they want to degrade Iran.
They don't want Donald Trump to do one of his deals. That's the worst thing they could have done. They didn't want the JCPOA, the Iran nuclear deal that Obama signed, that resolved the nuclear program for at least 15 years. They were dead against that deal.
But so was Trump himself.
Yes, and Trump pulled out of that deal. And then what happened? Enrichment went up. Then Biden came back in, said, let's try and go back into that deal. The Israelis attacked Natanz in 2021. They enriched up to 60%. Then last year, they went to Oman to negotiate. They had a meeting scheduled for Sunday. The Israelis bombed on Friday. This year, they negotiated in Geneva. The Omani foreign minister came to DC and said, A deal's on the table. Apparently, Jonathan Powell from the UK said there was a deal to be done. Guess what happened? The US and Israel bombed the next day. There's a history of Israel in particular, but also the US, bombing every time we're close to a deal. Every time there's a negotiation.
Again, go follow Sateo. Go follow Mahit Hassan, an amazing geopolitical analyst and, just leading voice on a lot of what's going on in a very reality-checked way. An attack by the U.S. and Israel has targeted a major water source in the city of Haftgel, located in Iran's western Khuzestan province, reports Iran's Fars media news agency, citing a local security official. Water infrastructure isn't a military target. It's essential to life. Those are Israel's preferred targets. Now, we talked about how Iran attacked Kuwait's desalination plant in retaliation. Two wrongs don't make a right, in my opinion. I think both should be off limit. Rosatom says the situation in Iran's Bushehr nuclear power plant continues to deteriorate after multiple Israeli attacks. They just killed the guy J.D. Vance was supposed to be negotiating with. They blew up key energy infrastructure in Iran against U.S.'s wishes. They blew up hospitals. They blew up a water facility. And now this. When will you realize the Israelis are trying to force a bigger war? Hold on, y'all. I smell something burning. Give me 1 sec. Okay, sorry. My wife is making toast. I got nervous there because I was like, what is that smell? Why does it smell like my house is burning down? Okay, Iran's attack on Prince Sultan Air Base destroyed a U.S. command aircraft that will cost $1 billion+ to replace, and possibly destroyed 3 Stratotankers costing $80 million apiece. New images show a destroyed Boeing E-3 Sentry at the base in Saudi Arabia with the fuselage torn open and burned out. Damage likely consistent with a total loss. They tried to say that this isn't a total loss. The United States' position on that when they released the briefing on it was that it was like mildly incapacitated, like we'd be able to repair this. Are you fucking kidding me? There's no way we would be able to replace. Look at half the fucking plane is blown up, bro. What are you talking about? And AWACS are instrumental to the war in Iran. They offer all different kinds of resource transport and logistics. The strike also hit refueling assets up to 6 KC-135 Stratotankers reportedly at the base, with claims that 3 were destroyed and others damaged, though the information remains unconfirmed. There are going to be coverage gaps, says Kelly Greco, a senior fellow at the Stimson Center. Without AWACS, the U.S. risks degrading tracking, slower targeting cycles, and weaker coordination across the battle space. So, and we don't have, I want to say the entire amount of AWACS that we have that I heard, I'm pretty sure, I might be wrong, but I think it's 18. We have 18 total or something like that in our arsenal, and 1 was just destroyed. That's huge. That's a humongous loss for American military. U.S.-Israeli strikes target water infrastructure in Iran. The U.S.-Israeli strike hit a major water source in Haftgel in Iran's western Khuzestan province, which we talked about. According to Fars news agency, the officials said 10,000 cubic meter reservoir was targeted with no casualties were reported, and alternative water sources remain in operation in Tehran. Israeli strikes appear to have destroyed a natural resources and watershed management organization. This is wild. Here's a funny headline for you because it just shows the desperation of the State Department. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio demands Iran stop manufacturing drones and missiles used in recent attacks. You better stop, Iran. You better stop. You better know that you're militarily defeated. And if you keep doing anything, I'm going to be really mad. I'm going to be so mad, I might wag my finger at you. Definition of insanity: launch a war against a country and then demand that country stop defending themselves and allow the U.S. to win. We are petulant children. Straight up. This is last night from Isfahan in Iran. A huge explosion, multiple huge explosions. Trump and Israel are massively bombing a city older than most of the world, 2,500 years old. Nearly 2 million civilians. They call it liberation. I don't think you realize, like, it's far away. That's a huge explosion. That's huge. That's a lot of firepower. And generally, when it comes to explosions like this, you can kind of contextualize or visualize the scale of the explosion by how slowly the flames move up. Watch how slow they go up in the air. This is probably 300, 400 feet up, like a 30, 40 story building coming up off of these hills over here. That's a huge explosion, dude. All right, last thing I want to touch on is a little segment from Caitlin Collins last night. If all the president gets from this very costly war is that the Strait of Hormuz has been reopened, I think that's going to be viewed as a major strategic failure. Let's watch this last clip, and then we're going to move on to Lebanon, Israel. I got a couple of things from Cuba and a Charlie Kirk headline, and then we got a bunch of miscellaneous headlines that we'll try and fly through because I got to get going at like 2-ish today. So I got about an hour and 40 minutes left.
This war, the Strait
We got
of
a lot to cover.
Hormuz, which is why we're seeing such an insane spike in the global energy crisis that's underway right now. That has been a key question. And I want you to listen to what two of the top officials in the president's cabinet said about control of that and what the president himself said to me a week ago.
They are making threats about controlling the Hormuz Straits in perpetuity, creating a tolling system and the like. That's not going to be allowed to happen.
Over time, the U.S. is going to retake control of the straits, and there will be freedom of navigation, whether it is through U.S. escorts or a multinational escort.
What about the Strait of Hormuz? Who's going to be in control of that?
That'll be opened very soon if this works.
How soon? And who's in control of it? Will Iran still be able to control the flow of oil?
Be jointly controlled.
By who?
Maybe me.
Immediately.
Maybe
Immediately.
Me and the Ayatollah, whoever
Me and the
is, whoever the
Ayatollah. We're
next
best
Ayatollah.
buds.
I mean, Kareem, when you hear that, and they are basically saying Iran.
He calls my lifestyle non-halal. It's bad. But, you know, we're buds. We're great buds. Even though I haven't seen him in purpose, we don't even know if he's alive.
Cannot be in control of the Strait of Hormuz. The Wall Street Journal just
He
reported
haunts my
tonight before we
dreams.
came on air that maybe the president is willing to end the war without figuring out the Strait of Hormuz and who's in control of it first.
For me, Caitlin, there's three different buckets of what President Trump has wanted to achieve. Number one, in my view, he actually has to reopen the Strait of Hormuz to be able to end this war, because no U.S. partners in the Middle East will accept the fact that Iran is controlling this critical artery. But then there's a second bucket, which is their nuclear program, unaccounted nuclear material, their missiles and drones, their regional proxies. He'd also hoped to significantly change the equation there. He's degraded a lot of their capabilities, what they can rebuild. And then the third question is the nature of the regime. He had hoped to change Iran from an adversary into a partner. And if all the president gets from this very costly war is that the Strait of Hormuz has been reopened, I think that's going to be viewed as a major strategic failure.
Well, because if that is what happens and that is the success, I mean, the Strait of Hormuz is only closed because the war started. It wasn't closed before this.
Correct. And our ability to open it, talk is cheap. You know, how do you actually do this if you cannot eliminate mines, all the drones, and you have a regime that is incentivized to continue their threats in order to control the strait. If we agree, we're kind of in this halfway house to hell.
This war.
All right. What do we think, chat? What do we think? Everyone's been a little quiet today. What do we think? Tell me what you think. Anything? While I open up these next few links. How do we feel about this? What are your predictions? I'm going to get y'all to open up. Oh, I tried to call you out and somebody left. All right, let's look at Lebanon here. Start out with our trusted reporter on the ground, Courtney Bano. Israeli war crimes in the last 24 hours have killed Lebanese soldier and a UNIFIL peacekeeper. So Israel had attacked UN peacekeepers over the weekend. That's a war crime. That's crazy.
From the Lebanese army checkpoint at Al Amriya, which this morning was subjected to Israeli artillery shelling. The attack killed 1 soldier and injured 2 more. The attacks from the Israeli army have been escalating since yesterday. They attacked a UNIFIL convoy, killing 1 peacekeeper yesterday. They attacked another UNIFIL convoy about an hour ago. And also about an hour ago, they attacked a civil defense center, another civil defense center, down the road here in Al Mansouri. Where we're standing now, they're shelling. They're shelling now, and there's an Israeli drone flying up above us. I'm reporting to you from...
Putting her life on the line every single day to report what is going on. Excellent article. This is a post from Steve Sweeney. This is the gentleman that was attacked with a missile strike on a bridge in southern Lebanon. Excellent article by Irish Times journalist Sally Haid on the attacks on health workers in Lebanon. On the front line of Lebanon's war, medics... Don't send me push notifications, please. On the front line of Lebanon's war, medics count their dead and keep going. Since all-out war between Israel and Hezbollah restarted earlier this month, at least 42 Lebanese health workers and first responders have been killed. The frame of the building was still smoking with a potentially toxic smell that clung to the clothing. On the ground were scattered medical supplies, a catheter, inhaler, pills and ointments, books about the human body. This medical center in Burj Khalifa, southern Lebanon, was directly hit by a missile on March 13th after it had closed and the medics inside had enjoyed iftar, the evening meal to break fast during Ramadan. 12 were killed, including doctors, paramedics, and nurses, and 1 badly wounded. Colleagues recalled finding body parts and charred bodies scattered around the rubble. 2 days later, Abdullah Noor al-Din, a regional civil defense head for the Hezbollah-linked Islamic Health Authority, stood in front of the building. He said he was messaging one of the murdered men before the airstrike hit. The Israeli enemy's goal is to terrorize so that we stop providing medical services. Now, they've been pulling their same stunt, Israel double tapping. So this has caused delays in the medical personnel from getting to those situations to provide medical care to those that are being shelled and hit by Israel. Israel says its war in Lebanon is against Hezbollah alone. Bullshit. But Hezbollah is a political party and a social movement, as well as a militant group. Israel international law says medics cannot be targeted regardless of their affiliation unless they take an active role in hostilities. So that means picking up a gun and shooting at Israeli soldiers, which they have not done. Okay, human rights organizations have said deliberately targeting civilian sites is a war crime. An Israel military spokesperson told the Irish Times that the strike on Burj Khalifa is under review. Good. Oh, great. Fantastic. I'm sure something positive will come out of that. But medics, Lebanese officials, hospital directors, and aid agency staff say they see a consistent pattern of Israeli military violations of the rules of war, in which medical workers are no longer protected. Many refer to Gaza and the perceived lack of a strong international reaction, which they say has pushed boundaries regarding how healthcare workers are treated. Last year, UN experts said the targeted destruction of Gaza's health care system by Israeli forces amounted to medicide, a sinister component of the intentional creation of conditions calculated to destroy Palestinians in Gaza, which constitutes an act of genocide. Since all-out war between Israel and Hezbollah restarted on March 2nd, at least 42 Lebanese healthcare workers and first responders have been killed and 119 wounded by Israeli attacks. Lebanon's Ministry of Health says at least 44 healthcare-related vehicles have been damaged or destroyed, and 5 hospitals forced to close completely. In response to a detailed list of questions related to allegation raised in this article, an Israeli military spokesperson said that the IOF respects the special protection granted to medical personnel and facilities and categorically rejects allegations of deliberately targeting the healthcare system in Gaza and Lebanon, which literally just goes against all of the evidence that we have seen so far. Go read the rest of this article. Irish Times, you can find it here. Oh, Sally Hayden. Sorry, I said Sally Hayden, but that's her handle. Sally Hayden. Go read the article. Give them your support. Go support Steve Sweeney. As I said before, on Saturday there was a triple strike on 2 journalists and a bunch of healthcare workers in Lebanon. This is the last report from journalist Fatima Fatawi. Fatuni. Before she was murdered by Israel. She was covering Israel's invasion of southern Lebanon. Israel has now killed over 280 journalists, which is 4 times more than the 70 journalists killed in both world wars. Like I stated earlier, you only target journalists when your enemy is the truth.
الفقعاني في بلدة الطيبي حيث
I'll
دارت
read this for you guys so you can
نقف الآن
now
مقابل
stand
حي
opposite
البيضاء
the
الفقعاني
Beata
في
Alfred
بلدة
Bridge
الطيبي
in the
حيث
town of
دارت
where
مواجهات
clashes
وما
occurred and
زالت
are
تدور
still
هذه
ongoing.
المواجهات في استهداف
These
مباشر
clashes directly
لآليات
target
الاحتلال
military vehicles,
العسكرية
operation forces,
وجرافات
and
الدينين
bulldozers
التي تقوم
that are
برفع
building
السواتر
earth barriers and
الترابية
demolishing
وجرف
citizens'
منازل
homes
المواطنين هنا في هذه
here
البلدة
in this
حيث
town where
تستمر
resistance
عمليات
operations
التصدي التي
continue
تقوم بها
in
المقاومة
this neighborhood
في هذا
located
الحي الذي يقع
north
شمال
of
بلدة
Tabat town.
الطيبي بالإضافة إلى تواجد
In addition to
قوات
Israeli
الاحتلال
occupation forces
الإسرائيلي
presence
في
in the
الحي
southern
الجنوبي
neighborhood in Tabat
ومشروع
project
الطيبي حيث دمرت
where
أيضا
Merkava
دبابات
tanks
المركبة
belonging
التابعة
to
لقوات
occupation
الاحتلال
forces
المتوغلة
advanced
من
through
بلدة
Adas,
عديسي
a town,
باتجاه
toward
هذه البلدة ومن
this
مختلف
town from
الأحياء
various
من حي
neighborhoods
الدبش
including Dabish
وصولا
district,
إلى
reaching
الأحياء
the southern
الجنوبية.
neighborhoods.
هذا
The
الحي
neighborhood
ظل
remained
عصيا على
resistant
الاحتلال
occupation
بعد تدمير
after
6
destroying 6 tanks
دبابات
before
قبل
they
توغل. نقف الآن.
She's going fast. She's going real quick there. It was hard for me to read that super quickly with all those names that I do not know how to pronounce and I butcher most of the time, but I do my best. Cut me some slack. I'm learning, okay? That's what we're here to do. That's what this channel's for. We're here to learn, okay? I'm not an expert. I will never claim to be an expert on any of this. These are just things that I want to share with you, information that I think you should be privy to, you think you should know about. Again, if you appreciate the coverage that I do give, think about giving the channel a follow. Think about throwing me a subscription. I would appreciate it. Here's another post from Courtney Bonneau. A short while ago, the Israeli army attacked another ambulance center in the Sur district. Yesterday, the Israeli army spokesperson continued to manufacture consent kill medical personnel and destroy medical facilities by claiming that the paramedics are somehow disguised and transporting weapons. The reality is that they are being targeted just like they were in Gaza. It is part of the Israeli ethnic cleansing campaign that has been unfolding across southern Lebanon for the last 18 months. Targeting medical staff and facilities is a war crime. Breaking, an Israeli artillery barrage has targeted the headquarters of the UN's peacekeeping contingent in southern Lebanon, reports Lebanese media. So, like I had said before, Israel had attacked UN peacekeepers. That is another war crime. That's against international law. But again, what did we talk about before? these United States and Israel, they don't sign on to these international laws. They don't follow them. They don't feel that they are constrained by them, and so they basically just do whatever the fuck they want. 5 paramedics, but then call out other countries when they feel they've received a perceived war crime. Crazy. 5 paramedics, 3 journalists, and 6 Syrian farm workers were killed today in targeted Israeli strikes. This is the report I was working on today when I received news of a massacre in Jazin. It turned out to be Ali and Fatima. Those are the 2 journalists that were killed on Saturday.
I'm reporting to you from the neighborhood of Hosh in the city of Sur. Hours ago, there was an Israeli attack on the town of Hania, which is just a few kilometers down the road here. We went in and talked to the hospital administrator, and he informed me that 6 Syrian farmers have been killed in this attack, and 9 were injured. Most of them are here at the Italian hospital. Some of them have been transferred to other hospitals because of their critical conditions. And it's not even noon. And this is not the first massacre that the Israeli army has committed today. Earlier, they committed a massacre against paramedics in Nabatea, killing 5 men and injuring many more. And I just got a report in that there was a massacre in Jazin. Targeting civilians and targeting medical personnel is a war crime.
Repeat it, repeat it, repeat it, repeat it, over and over and over and over, so that everyone fucking knows. They are committing war crimes. We are committing war crimes in Iran, Lebanon, and Gaza, among other places, I'm sure. All right, we got 2 more things to cover real quick about Lebanon here. This is the Israeli Defense Minister, Israel Katz. The video is in Hebrew, so and it doesn't have subtitles, so I can't tell you exactly what he's saying. But from what this post says here, Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz announced the IDF will maintain security control over the entire area south of the Litani River in southern Lebanon, including demolishing all homes near the border to remove once and for all the Hezbollah threat to northern Israel. At the end of the operation, the IDF will be positioned in a security area inside Lebanon in a defensive line against anti-tank missiles, and will have security control over the entire area up to the Litani River, including the remaining bridges. The return of over 600,000 residents of the area south of the Litani River will be completely prohibited until the safety and security of the residents of the north is ensured, similar to the model of Rafah and the Beit Hanun in the Gaza Strip. We will eliminate Radwan's forces that have infiltrated the area and destroy all weapons located there. And then this was retweeted. So an illegal invasion and occupation of another country, not a buffer zone or a security zone or incursion or any other euphemism. It's invading a country, killing people, and taking their territory. That is an invasion. That is militarily stripping a country of their sovereignty. Which, again, what's the word of the day? War crime, right? Violation of international law. But they're really good at that. We're really, really good at that. Alex Crawford reports on a graveyard of ambulances in southern Lebanon. More than 40 health workers murdered by Israel in 2 weeks. Lebanon says it's Israel attacking healthcare infrastructure to force people from southern Lebanon, ethnic cleansing, a land grab. We watched a brief video from Alex Crawford last week. This is a minute. Let's watch it.
Look at this long line of emergency vehicles, ambulances, all sorts of medical vehicles that have been bombed. If you get into some of them close, you can see some of them have been absolutely bombed virtually beyond recognition. Now, the Israeli military, when they put it to them that they were deliberately targeting healthcare workers, health infrastructure, and first responders, they say they categorically denied that allegation, but there are an incredibly high number of first responders and medics who have died just in the past 3 weeks. More than 40 have died, and that's not counting the several hundred that died in the previous 18 months to 2 years. And the Lebanese government certainly believes that the medical infrastructure and healthcare workers, including doctors, are being deliberately targeted as part of a tactic to destroy the health infrastructure here in South Lebanon and force people out of the area.
All right. What do we think, chat? What do we think about that? Pretty crazy. You know, this entire conflict between Israel and Lebanon is not new. It's been going on for 40 plus years at this point. Longer than that, really, but as far as how it's affected the geopolitical stage, it's been about 40 months of just relentless bombardment, invasion, incursion, assassination. Just relentless war and aggression. But they'll frame it as, oh, if we didn't do it, they'd kill us all. I highly doubt that. I highly doubt that, and so does the international community. Okay, so next up, we're going to move to some things from coming out of Israel. I don't know if you guys saw last night, the Israeli National Security Minister Ben-Gvir outside the Knesset chamber after they passed a law that allows them to basically institute the death penalty against anyone of Palestinian descent, or Palestinian descent, that they deem a terrorist. Okay. Now Israel has like a 99% conviction rate on Palestinians that they have labeled as terrorists. They also have a huge proportion of their prisoner population of Palestinians are children. The average age of kids in or of people, the citizens of Gaza, the Gaza Strip, is 50% of it is below the age of 18. So the majority, it's over 50%, I'm pretty sure, but the majority of the people living there are children, essentially. I don't even. I think this video is just popping champagne. Now, do you see this right here? He's got a little pin on his lapel. It's a fucking noose, bro. This is the motherfucking KKK. This is the motherfucking KKK, dude. Think of any other religious extremist group that is focused on eliminating minorities through fear, intimidation, retribution, assassination, and now systematic killing through legal means. These are not necessarily war crimes anymore. This is sanctioned by the government. The Knesset passed this law. And these motherfuckers are wearing nooses, bro. Like, look at this shit. This is fucking crazy. Today, March 30th, 2026, the Knesset votes on the Palestinian prisoners' death penalty law, a move that throws thousands of prisoners into the face of death. Ben-Gvir and his party members wore noose-shaped pin, demanding it to be turned into enforceable law. These people are sick. Disgusting. Fucking disgusting people. I don't even, dude, I can't, like, it fries my brain that anyone could support this or say that they have the right to defend themselves. This is not defense. This is murder. This is ethno-cleansing. This is ethnic cleansing. This is genocide. And we're like, nah, they need more money. Nah, they need our support. Don't do BDS. Don't boycott them. Otherwise, we'll have to fire you. And if you're Palestinian, we'll deport you back to Palestine, and then they can fucking hang you. Okay. I want to get to the specifics of this law. While many countries are abolishing or reducing the use of the death penalty, Israel is doing the opposite, writing it into law. Israel's death penalty law institutionalizes and legalizes the state mechanism for executing Palestinians. Since October 2023, Israel has killed at least 72,000 Palestinians in the Gaza Strip and at least 1,050 Palestinians in the West Bank, okay? Keeping them deliberately separated so that they have no centralized form of power, okay? And they have no way of fighting back, no institutionalized way of fighting back against the Israeli government. During this time, more than 80 Palestinian prisoners have died in Israeli prisons, which have turned into a network of torture camps where prisoners are subjected to continuous abuse and violence. The death penalty law adds another official killing mechanism to existing practices. The mass incarceration of Palestinians is a feature of Israel's apartheid regime. As of March 2026, about 9,500 Palestinians are held in inhumane conditions in Israeli prisons, roughly half of them under administrative detention, or as unlawful combatants, without trial and with no ability to defend themselves. Death penalty for Palestinians only. And in the wording of the law, this only applies to Palestinians. It does not apply to Jewish settlers or Israelis as a whole. Death penalty for Palestinians only. The law is worded to apply to Palestinians only, and it is set to make the killing of Palestinians a normalized, common, punitive tool through several mechanisms. The law gives military courts no discretion. Military judges will be required to sentence Palestinians convicted of murder to death, except in special circumstances. There is no requirement for unanimous decision. A simple majority will suffice, and avenues for appeal will be extremely limited. Only Palestinians are tried in military courts. Okay? All Israelis are tried in civil courts. Their conviction rate is 96%, which I've heard is all the way up to 99%, but still high 90%, based on largely on confessions extracted under duress and torture during interrogations. The penalty, execution by hanging, must be carried out within 90 days of sentencing with no possibility of pardon. A designated prison officer will execute the sentence. The law, which enjoys broad public support in Israel, is expected to pass in the Knesset tomorrow, Monday, March 30th. The Israeli prison service has already begun preparing designated execution facilities. The death penalty is a total violation of the most basic human rights, primarily the right to life. Israel enforces a comprehensive policy of killing and oppression against Palestinian people in all the territories it controls. The death penalty law gives Israel's apartheid regime yet another tool for advancing that policy. Okay. Fucking outrageous, dude. It's nuts. And they're just like, hell yeah, baby. Let's pop some fucking champagne bottles up in this bitch. We're about to kill so many innocent Palestinians with legal protections. It's nuts. Okay? Now, this is the same guy that was just popping bottles. Open incitement against our mothers in the West Bank. The extremist Ben Gvir threatens mothers in the West Bank, vowing that their children's fate will be the gallows. Okay? Children. Do these sound like murderers? Do these sound like hardened criminals? Or are they children that have grown up in an apartheid regime of ethnic cleansing? Okay, he asserted that the occupation will not bow to international pressures to halt these racist laws. I don't even know if this has a... oh, it does have a translation. I'll try and read it as fast as possible because he's talking quick. Fuck this fucking guy so hard, dude. We made history. Now every mother in Judea and Samaria knows that if their child goes out to murder, his fate is the gallows. I say that to the European Union, who pressured and threatened State Israel. We're not afraid. We won't surrender. We're in our country with our sovereignty. We'll defend our citizens. And a terrorist who goes out to kill knows he'll end up in the gallows. Now, they could say anyone. They could say it to anyone. There is no burden of evidence or proof on the Israeli side to prove to who, right? The military court's just going to be like, yeah, fucking kill him. Who gives a shit? Now we have a quasi-legal tool that will be harder to hold up in international criminal courts as a war crime because, well, now it's a law, right? So they have protection from the government, essentially. It doesn't make it right, but it gives them protections and the ability to carry it out in whatever way they see fit. Let's see. We got... Okay, here's the last thing on this that I want to talk about. Israeli conviction rate of Palestinians in military courts is 99.74%. Israeli's conviction of reported settler attacks in Palestine is 1.8%. So when settlers attack Palestinians and actually get arrested for it, 1.8% of the time are they convicted. I mean, if that doesn't scream bias to you, I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to show you, right? Israel death sentence will only apply to Palestinians, not Israeli Jews. It's not complicated. It's apartheid. So there's a good article down here to go read from opinionjurist.org from Mohammed Shahada. Source: the likelihood that allegations of violence against Palestinians in the occupied territory will lead to conviction of the Israeli suspect is just 1.8%. Yeah. So go read that. Go follow him. Let's look at the few other things we got here. Holy shit, catastrophic 12 hours for Israel and the U.S. Iran bombed Israel's Teva pharmaceutical factory, the largest generic drug manufacturer on Earth. Chemical leaks, secondary explosions, factory burning. Iran knocked an Israeli power plant in the Negev completely offline. Iran carried out 27 strikes on the Negev with zero visible air defense activations, not one interception. Haifa port oil refinery struck. Stock collapsed 4% within hours. U.S. bases hit simultaneously in Kuwait, Bahrain, UAE, and Saudi Arabia. 4 countries, 1 coordinated attack. Ex-CIA officer on record. 165 innocent little girls killed by American Tomahawk missiles targeting Iranian universities. Iran issued ultimatum. U.S. must condemn must condemn university bombings by noon, March 30th, or Iran will strike American universities. They have opened those up to possible attacks. Iran announces it will begin bombing the personal homes of U.S. and Israeli military commanders. Obviously not on U.S. soil. That would be basically impossible for Iran. They don't possess that capability. Iran announces it will begin Yemen has entered the war on Iran's side. Iraq is sending aid to Iran. Now, that's pretty crazy. That line right there. Iraq is sending aid to Iran. One of the reasons why we're attacking Iran is to overthrow the Ayatollah, right, which we killed him presumably on February 28th. The reason he came into power was because in the 70s we had basically armed Iran to attack the Iraqis. Or maybe it's the other way around. I don't know if I'm being totally remember that quite clearly. But it's either the one way. We killed over 1 million Iraqis during the war, the Iraq war and the Afghanistan war. So I think it might have been the Iraqis against the Iranians. Either way, they have a long history of not liking each other, of not working well with each other. And it's come to a point where Iraq is sending aid to Iran because they understand that the United States is not their ally. When we came into the country to liberate them from Saddam Hussein, we ended up killing 1 million people. They don't like us anymore. And then the other day, they allowed 15 military personnel to leave Iraqi occupied land, or I believe they were in Iraq, to go to Jordan to get out of this military conflict. And then we fucking bombed the Iraqis and killed the commander that we were communicating with. So what reason do they not have to work with Iran, right? That would only benefit them. Iran claims full control of the Strait of Hormuz, 40% of the world's seaborne oil. The Atlantic is running multi-dimensional economic disaster headlines. The situation changed dramatically in the last 12 hours. This war just entered a phase nobody planned for. So here we have just an image of some of the places that they've been able to attack. So this is a power plant, Negev, in Israel, the Haifa refinery, and a pharmaceutical plant here in southern Israel. A U.S. base in Saudi Arabia, a U.S. base in Bahrain, a U.S. base in Kuwait, a U.S. base in UAE. Okay, so they're trying to phrase this United States media and stuff like that, manufacturing this consent for the war, trying to state this as like, oh, they're just attacking everybody. Like, no, they're only attacking United States and Israeli associated sites. Whether they are civilian infrastructure like desalination plants, they are affecting countries that are working with the United States. Okay, even if they are their neighbors, maybe allies in certain situations, it doesn't matter. These are all fair game according to them. Okay, let's go to all right, let's watch this video from Chris Coons. Absolute bombshell on live TV. U.S. Senator Chris Coons confirms Israel intentionally assassinated the exact Iranian leader the Trump administration was trying to negotiate peace with. Israel deliberately sabotaged diplomacy to trap Washington in an endless war.
That's a great question to which there isn't a great answer. President Trump, several days into the war, made it clear that he had thought that Larijani, one of the senior elected leaders of the Iranian government, was someone with whom he or his administration might have negotiated, but the Israelis assassinated him. The Israelis have attacked over and over the senior leadership of the intelligence services, of the IRGC, of the Ayatollah and his close advisors, and that has made it difficult for us to assess exactly who's in charge. But we do know this. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard, the IRGC, has a pretty firm grip on the country and has been trained in how to continue aggressive operations even when there isn't a clear central command. So I don't, in the near term, see an easy path towards there being a real change in the government or the regime in Iran.
Okay. So we have no clear long-term objective here, right? We have no idea what it is. It's just juice the markets, make sure that money's getting made, fuck over the entire energy grid in order to further manipulate the market, and just try and destabilize the region as much as possible. I honestly think the more I think about it, the more headlines I read and everything, I mean, it just feels like the United States and Israel are just trying to destroy the world. Like, straight up. Like, they're just like, nah, we're just going to set everything on fire. We don't really have a plan. We're just trying to fuck shit up as much as we possibly can in order to consolidate as much power as we possibly can. In order to do that, in order to make what we talked about a couple weeks ago, the Greater Israel Project. So let's watch this Al Jazeera video.
In 2024, an Israeli soldier was photographed in Gaza wearing this badge. It shows an imagined country.
And we have footage of Benjamin Netanyahu saying he supports the Greater Israel Project.
Stretching from the Nile in Egypt to the Euphrates in Iraq. It includes all of Palestine, Jordan, Lebanon, and chunks of Syria, Egypt, Iraq, and Saudi Arabia. It's called Greater Israel, what Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu calls a historic and spiritual mission. Today, Israel's internationally recognized territory covers almost 21,000 square kilometers. The territory on that badge? Roughly 500,000 square kilometers, basically 25 times larger. Is Greater Israel already happening on the ground? A smaller version already exists: Israel plus the occupied Palestinian territories.
Now, let's look at this part right here, the occupied West Bank. Okay, this land is still technically under control of the Palestinians. I saw a map the other day that shows essentially all of the main settlements. Now, looking at this, right, looking at this image is kind of like looking at the United States map after the Trump-Harris election in 2024, where it shows that, oh, look at all of this red. Look at all these people that voted for Donald Trump, but it's land. Land doesn't vote. So if you focus that into cities, municipalities, smaller towns, rural voters, all that stuff, that red largely disappears, and it's not as overwhelming, right? There are tiny little dots inside of that occupied West Bank that are still controlled by the Palestinians in there. It's like less than 10% of the land is still controlled by the Palestinians. The rest of it has been settled and colonized by the Israelis. And a lot of it's like rural farmland. So mainly it's the larger city centers and the larger areas that are more dense in population, that are still under control of the Palestinians. So this is a little bit misleading when you look at it, because it's a lot smaller territory that they actually still control.
Plus the Golan Heights taken from Syria, about 27,000 square kilometers, with 800,000 settlers on illegally occupied.
And the Golan Heights, that was a huge thing in like the late 90s, early 2000s. That whole thing happening, I remember watching videos of it when I was a kid, of the tanks and the bulldozers and all the different stuff like ripping down homes in the Golan Heights in Syria.
Land. The big version, seen on the badge, would absorb, in whole or in part, land from 7 sovereign nations, where over 120 million people live. Supported by settlers and given a nod by the U.S. ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee.
Fuck that guy.
Where did the idea come
Big
from?
time.
It traces back to Genesis 15:18, where God makes a covenant with Abraham, promising his descendants that land. It is quoted by the founder of modern Zionism, Theodor Herzl, in 1898 as the borders of a future Jewish state. Decades later, the idea became a strategy. In 1982, Oded Yinon, a former Israeli foreign ministry official, published A Strategy for Israel in the 1980s. The article argued that Israel's security required the fragmentation of surrounding Arab states. In 1996, a policy paper for Netanyahu called A Clean Break recommended abandoning the Oslo peace process and weakening Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon. From Herzl to Netanyahu, more than a century apart, there's one trajectory. You don't take the land. You break the states around you until no one can stop you from taking what you want. That pattern is playing out right now. Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich laid out the strategy in a leaked recording: do the annexation without calling it annexation. His map claims 82% of the occupied West Bank. He vowed to add 1 million Israeli settlers to Palestinian land. About half of Israelis polled support expanding control over Palestinian territories and pursuing annexation. Support for negotiating a Palestinian state has collapsed to just 1 in 10. In Gaza, Lebanon, Syria, Iran, the wars of the past 2 years almost all fall within the borders of the Greater Israel map. Many steps are similar: a military operation, a buffer zone, and then outposts, settlements, and annexation. Israel has never officially defined its borders. In 1948, its first prime minister, David Ben-Gurion, refused, saying Israel would expand beyond partition once it built its strength. Since then, every border Israel has ever drawn has been temporary. Every expansion has been permanent.
There you go. All right. Here we have CNN journalist, Jeremy Diamond, I believe is his name. Israeli soldier tells CNN the IDF is helping Israeli settlers expand illegal settlements in the West Bank. CNN reported this isn't a legal settlement. IOF soldier, it will be. He then proceeded to assault the reporter.
As you can see, one of them is right here. And, you know, what's really quite striking is the fact that so many of these soldiers are clearly manifesting the same kind of settler ideology.
This soldier, Meir, makes that crystal clear.
אין לכם אישור להיות פה גם בחוק ישראלית.
Long live Israel. I believe that's
גם
what it
בחוק
means.
ישראלית. זה לא
you know,
יישוב עכשיו.
whatever.
זה לא יישוב חוקי, כן? זה לא יישוב חוקי.
אבל זה יהיה יישוב חוקי.
זה יהיה?
כן.
אוקיי.
לאט לאט.
איך אתה יודע את זה?
לאט לאט.
בגלל העזרה שלך, כן?
בוודאי. אני עוזר לעם שלי.
Meir is describing the settler playbook and the role Israeli soldiers often play in propping it up. The Israeli military did not respond to CNN's questions about soldiers' conduct in the West Bank, including our detention.
As you can see, one of them is right here. And, you know,
I thought I had another video from Jeremy Diamond, but let's look at this one. This is yesterday, about 30 minutes after being violently arrested again in the anti-war protest in Tel Aviv. While 6 of us were already in the police van, an officer climbed in and grabbed me by my hair, beat me, and choked me. Nothing new here. I'm fine, of course. This is just how it is. This is the face of the Israeli apartheid regime. Israel never was a democracy. It will never be one. Apartheid, of course, is not legitimate. Don't normalize it. Shut it down. I'm very proud of my comrades. I love you all, and I'm proud to get beaten up with you. So there are people, there are Israelis in Israel that are trying to fight against this from the inside, but they are a very, 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 very small minority. I don't think we know exact amounts, but I mean, I would venture to guess less than 10% oppose what Israel is doing in the West Bank and stuff like that when we look at these other things. And huge percentages of the population support these military conquests and this expansion into Palestinian-controlled land. Here is a I don't know what this is from, if this is just like a public forum or speaking or something like that, but stand-down order admitted on record. Israeli soldier testifies to Knesset. Oh, it's at the Knesset committee. We received orders from the Golani Brigade commanders on October 7th to cancel all patrols along the Gaza border from 5:20 a.m. until 9 a.m. Okay. Let's see. 6:30 in the morning, October 7th, you were at an outpost.
7 באוקטובר, אתה במוצב.
For us, October 7th starts before 6:30. I was a soldier. Hold on, I'm going to turn this down a little bit. I was a soldier in the mortar platoon of the Golani Brigade's 13th Battalion. Oh, and that night myself, Yotamar Sawyer, my Sergeant Tamar Ben Hayuda, may he rest in peace. The 3 of us were pulling an all-nighter. On Sabbaths and holidays, we'd let ourselves pull an all-nighter until the dawn stand to. And you know we in the mortar platoon have time to sleep until the next stand to. So at 5:20, we're sitting by the radio so as not to wake the radio operator. And my deputy battalion commander, who was also seriously injured, and thank God he survived, suddenly gets on the radio with a strange message. All stations, I don't know why, I don't know how, something along those lines. No patrol on the fence until AM. What time was that? That was 5:20 in the morning. All stations are to hold their positions. So in terms of ground forces in Rev, we don't have anything significant. The brigade issued a directive to our forces pending a situation assessment until 9 a.m. No vehicles to approach Burma. I'll say it again, until 9 in the morning, pending the situation assessment, no vehicles to go down to Burma. We're in rear staging areas, brigade level arrangement. I don't know why exactly. I don't ask too many questions. That's a directive. That's what we do. A little before it all begins, and Tamar gives us this look like, what? And you know, we're simple soldiers, just combatants, not commanders or officers who can ask questions. It's an order from the deputy battalion commander. We take the order and we don't ask questions, a routine passing of an order. And sure enough, an hour later at 6:30, suddenly sirens. Yuri, I'll tell you the truth, I've been living with this since October 7th, and I was very afraid to talk about it. And when I got to the Knesset, it was after a period when I asked some senior army officers what actually happened there, and there were some who initially told me, listen, there was a sniper threat from Nakba, so we didn't want to send so they wouldn't get hit. And then over time, it kind of dawned on me. I said, wait, if there was a sniper threat, how can it be that I, who am only 200 meters from the fence, don't know there's a threat? How can it be any of my friends are fighting without a vest in their underwear and socks, and nobody knows that something is happening? We're 200 and 300 meters from the fence. And then that was again on my mind, and really, I was suddenly invited to the Knesset. I felt that it was a real opportunity to open the subject and talk about it and to actually understand what happened there. And look, like you're saying, to a lot of people it sounds strange what actually happened there. And we're going back to this again, and I'll be honest, honestly, I've been living with some kind of hole in my brain since the 7th of October. That's something in my heart feels to me that, listen, I don't know what was there. I don't know what was there. I want to understand what happened, like everyone. Look, the deputy commander wasn't a sniper threat, because the deputy battalion commander says, I have no idea why, and a sniper threat happened so many times, he says it in real time at 5:20 in the morning. So I'm not going to keep reading this because it's going way too fast and we have other stuff to talk about. But essentially, we have testimony in the Knesset, which is basically like the Israeli Congress, essentially. This military official coming out, this combatant, as he calls himself, saying that we were told to stand down on the morning of October 7th, and not straight out, essentially saying that they allowed the Palestinians and Hamas militants to come through and start, doing what they did. But we know we have proof that the Israelis killed their own citizens with helicopter brigades as they were coming in to try and fight off the Hamas militants that were coming through the border. I'm not going to cover that. It's not really super important. I'm going to skip that for right now. And then we just read that one. So we're going to move on to Cuba. There was really just one or two things that I want to talk about real quick with Cuba. Obviously, we talked about it last week. There was the Nuestra America convoy that went through and delivered a whole bunch of humanitarian aid. Solar panels, 30 tons of humanitarian aid and different supplies to the people of Cuba. Basically getting around the United States blockade. According to Hassan, he said that they had to get approval from the Treasury. I don't know why. I guess maybe because it has to do with like resource movement into a country that's blocked off, essentially by a financial embargo. Pretty much we block them from getting fuel and supplies from other countries. And mainly from the United States, right? They can get it from certain other countries. We can't block everything. But we've been blocking them from getting oil, from the government getting oil, right? We've been sending thousands of barrels of oil to privately owned businesses in Cuba that are owned by either United States or U.S.-backed companies that are not associated with the communist government, right? The United States Coast Guard is allowing a Russian tanker carrying about 73,000 barrels of crude oil to reach Cuba, easing a months-long, because it's been since January, illegal U.S. oil blockade, according to U.S. officials cited by the New York Times. The report says the shipment could temporarily stabilize Cuba's collapsing energy system, which has faced multiple blackouts in the past month, recurring fuel shortages, and rising unrest. The decision also avoids a direct confrontation with Russia near U.S. waters. The tanker is expected to reach Matazanas, which isn't that how you say apple in Spanish? Or is that manzana? I don't know. Can't remember. Cuba by Tuesday. It remains unclear if future shipments will be allowed. Now, 730,000 barrels will definitely help them. Right, it is crude oil, so they will have to refine it. That's going to be tough because they don't have anything right now or they don't have a lot to really run any of their refinement sites. So I'm not sure exactly how they're going to do that. But essentially, we did this because we also are on a front with Russia in the Ukraine war. Okay, the Russia-Ukraine war. And then Russia also is working with Iran militarily. They buy drones from Iran and that stuff too. So basically we'd have three fronts with Russia, right? And we can't really afford that. So I think that's why they allowed this shipment of oil to go through. they apply pressure, release, allow them to recuperate a little bit, and then we'll apply pressure again. So my prediction, which is limited to literally just my own personal opinions, is not based on any expert advice or opinions or anything like that, or education. I don't think this is the end. We have threats from Trump saying that, Canada or Cuba's next. We are planning on continuing to strangle them with our economic blockade and all that stuff. So I think this is just a temporary easing of those blockades. Let's cover this thing real quick because this will be quick. Now, I've seen conflicting information on this, and apparently this has been known since October. I'm not entirely sure, but breaking news: the bullet used to kill Charlie Kirk does not match the rifle allegedly used by suspect Tyler Robinson. The murder weapon and the alleged murder weapon are not the same weapon. Now, you can't really necessarily prove that, but they can't prove that it's not the weapon, I think is more along the lines of what they're saying. So essentially, the coroner's report or the autopsy showed that the bullet, a .30-06, which is a huge gun, it leaves a devastating exit wound. If somebody got shot through the neck with a .30-06, the whole entire portion of the back of their neck would be blown out. And when he got shot, there was really no splattering on the tent or any major ejection of viscera and his neck muscles or bone or anything like that. And then they said that his bone stopped the bullet from going through. Like he had Superman strength bones. I don't buy that. I don't think a lot of people buy that. I've fired a .30-06. That motherfucker is heavy, right? It's a big gun. You have different types of ammunition, which I think is what a lot of the debate has to do with, like whether or not it was a soft point, whether or not it was a standard pointed ammunition. You have this douchebag right-wing MAGA fucking influencer guy, misfit patriot or some bullshit, talking about how he's already described all this. He already has all the information. They've already talked about it last year, and they knew this already. But I don't think anybody knows anything for sure. Now, this is from a Daily Mail article, which is what a lot of this breaking news was coming from, was this Daily Mail article. I don't trust the Daily Mail. 95% of the time, they're a sensationalist newspaper out of the UK. So they kind of print a lot of stuff that really can't be verified, or it's a little bit sensational or clickbaity and stuff like that. So the trial is going on right now, I believe it starts in April, the middle of April or something like that. So we'll keep an eye out on what's going on with that. But this is just from what the defense had submitted in their pre-trial documents, stating that they don't think the bullet matched the gun. I'm not sure. We'll see what happens. Okay, real quick, let's talk about the No Kings rally from over the weekend. They're calling it the largest mass gathering protest in U.S. history. They said that about the last two No Kings rally from June and October of last year. Each one has progressively gotten bigger, and I think that's because it's the resentment is progressively growing in the United States against our government. So here we have video of all the different ones. If you haven't seen, I mean, there's a lot of people. We're waiting on official figures, but it's estimated 8 million people showed up. That's a lot, dude. That's wild. Up until the first No Kings, the record was held by the Women's March back in the mid 2010s, around Me Too, I believe, or some somewhere around that time. I'm not exactly sure, but that was like 2 or 3 million people, I think, or something like that. This is a cool image that I saw. I mean, straight up, 100%. What's going on? What's going on, internet? Come on, you got it. You can do it. Trump must go now. All these people lined up. I mean, in all honesty, this doesn't do much, right? But it does show how upset Americans are. It shows the solidarity that we have with each other. It shows what people can do realistically, which is just make their voice heard, right? A lot of people feel disenfranchised when it comes to voting. A lot of people feel like their vote doesn't matter because mainly your party is going to tell you like who you can vote for. We're only in the primary season right now, so we can't necessarily vote these people out immediately. A lot of people aren't going to be able to participate in any kind of general strike because we got to pay our bills, right? People got a lot of other stuff going on in their lives. They're not able to completely devote or say like, hey, I can just not get paid for a while, right? That's hard for a lot of people. And they've designed the economy that way to make it hard for people to be able to do that, because the biggest, most effective tool we have would be a general strike. Now, there is a general strike planned for May 1st. I don't know if I have anything saved on it here, because the issue with a general strike, okay, and like the one that happened in Minneapolis was largely performative as well, and symbolic. I would say symbolic over performative. It was symbolic of the resentment that people feel towards the government and the economy and the way that they're being treated in the United States right now. They didn't have any clear goals or demands, okay? If you want stuff like this to succeed, right? Protests, any type of like strikes or anything like that, you have to have a clear sense of what you're asking for. You have to have a goal that is objective, and clearly stated, so that way, if we're doing this general strike, we're receiving some type of concessions from it, and it's not just like, hey, we're mad and we're not going to go to work, but we'll be back in like a day or two and everything will go back to normal. Nothing's going to change like that, right? So these protests, these huge protests, serve different purposes. You know what I mean? It allows people to feel like they can voice their opposition to the government in a way that is accessible for them, and that is like, doable. So it's never bad that people are getting together like this and showing solidarity and voicing their frustration and all that kind of stuff. All right. I'm going to put Jessica Tarlov on. She's the only Democratic voice on the 5 on Fox News. And I'm going to go take a pee real fast.
We know that when you're more engaged in the political...
I'm going to turn it up so you can hear it. And then I'm going to go take a pee real fast.
We know that when you're more engaged in the political process for a longer amount of time, then you definitively show up to vote. People kicking in fences and things like that, I don't know about it, if they're going to be there in November. But the reality is that the No Kings movement, the last time that there was a protest, had about 6 million people. Now it's 8 million people at 3,300 rallies across all 50 states. And actually 2/3 of them were in suburbs and small towns. 1 of every 50 people who live in America participated in one of these. It's clearly a thing that matters to people. And you see that being recognized not by Jesse or Greg, but by Republicans in Congress. So we have a record high number of electeds on the Republican side retiring early, 36 of them. have already announced Trump's approval is about 40%, if you want to be super generous. And historically
I have
speaking,
him
when
at
it's less,
52.
you already told me,
I
you
have
have
him at
Rasmussen,
52.
or the guy in the bow tie. And when the president's approval is below 50%, on average, the party loses 34 seats and the minimum loss of 9 seats. We only need 3 to
Did you go to any of this?
All right, it was not fast enough, but let's look at a couple more things real quick. We have Bernie Sanders talking here. I will be forcing a vote in the Senate on legislation to block the sale of nearly $1 billion of weapons to the Israeli military for bombs and bulldozers.
And another $200 billion to fight this war. Trump's supplemental appropriation for the war in Iran must be defeated. Secondly, I will be forcing a vote in the Senate on legislation to block the sale of nearly $1 billion in weapons to the Israeli military for bombs and bulldozers.
And this is in Vermont.
A nation,
Look at all those people.
a
That's
government
crazy,
that
bro.
has committed genocide in Gaza does not need more military support from American taxpayers.
That's right. Thank you, Bernie, for being one of the only voices in Congress that is, has a clear head on their shoulders. Okay, this is a post from Nancy Pelosi. So, if you've been living, I don't know, under a rock or like whatever, and not paying attention to anything, you don't know who Nancy Pelosi is. She's actually leaving Congress this year. She's been serving in Congress since like the fucking 60s or 70s, dude. She's been in Congress for a long ass fucking time. One of the biggest reasons why I'm like, we need term limits, right? She should have been out a long fucking time ago. She's also been one of the best investors, like one of the best like stock investors using like insider information to basically beat out like hedge funds and shit. It's wild. So here's her talking about the No Kings. That was the whole point of the American Revolution and our Constitution. Nancy Pelosi. I want you to watch this real quick, and then we're going to talk about this post that's right above it, because she is a hypocritical cunt.
In my view, the democracy issue is everything. We're in our 250th anniversary. We have No King's Day today. Our founders did not want a king. Our founders did not want a king. They wrote a constitution that said we don't want a monarch to declare war anytime he felt like it. That's why they have Congress declaring war. They didn't want somebody in charge of all the money to do whatever he wants. That's why Congress has the power of the purse. So the separation of power is essential to not having a monarch. But it's also, what is democracy? Free and fair elections. You know what they're doing. Independent judiciary. Forget about it. Rule of law, due process, freedom of the press, separation of power, all at stake in this election, you so rightfully say. However, our experience is, and as we do that, that's why I say we save the democracy at the kitchen table. People usually vote what they see their immediate self-interest and they see as an immediate threat. I think they're so patriotic they think our country can survive even this thing. But I thought we could survive one. I'm not sure we can survive 2 terms.
Okay, so this woman who should have retired years ago and should just be playing canasta somewhere Back in the, I think this was in the 70s. Pelosi and other San Francisco liberals made 1,000 arrests of food not bombs over 8 years for sharing food with the hungry. They even tortured some of us. I spent 500 days in jail, 9 days in a stress position cage, and faced 25 to life in prison. And this woman is talking about how she believes in democracy and the rule of law. She is a hypocritical, money-grabbing traitor to this country. She has sold us up the river. One of the reasons that we even have Trump as a president is because of Democratic politicians like her. Right? They serve the same interest as the opposition, and that is capital. Always. Now, one thing I do want to go over. So this guy, okay, I want to talk about this. I'm not going to read this entire thing because it's fucking wild what he's got here. This is how not to look at the No Kings protest, okay? No Kings explained for people who think they're fighting fascism. You're standing in a crowd on Saturday, you look around and think, yeah, no kings. This is what democracy looks like. Bro, you're holding a sign made by a communist billionaire. What? A communist billionaire who lives in Shanghai. What are you saying? You live in a constitutional republic. That's true. Elections, term limits, a free press that spent 4 years. Term limits for who? The president? A free press that spent 4 years calling the president a fascist without one journalist being arrested. Calling who a fascist? Biden? What are you fucking talking about? The modern left's definition of fascism. You love your country? Fascist. You want to enforce the border? Racist. You think parents should raise their kids? Bigot. You want to know who's voting in your elections? Jim Crow. Being patriotic is fascism to the left. None of these points that he's made make any sense whatsoever. Okay? You love your country? You're a fascist? That's not how that works. First off, that would be more akin to a nationalist. Not necessarily a fascist, right? You can be a nationalist without being a fascist. You want to enforce the border. Racist. What? How is that? No. By brutalizing minority communities and immediately deeming them as an invasion or an invasion of like a subhuman species, that is racism, okay? Having strict immigration laws that we follow, right? Everyone fucking loves Obama. He was the deporter in chief, dude. He got rid of the most amount of immigrants out of like the last 2 presidents combined or some shit, right? But everyone loves him, okay? So how is that racist, right? It's stupid. I think, as a leftist, I think that immigration should be easier for people, right? When they come here, we should make it easy for them to get documentation. And these people are coming here for the specific reason of they want to try and make it here, right? If we give them the access to try and make it and be successful, they would have a lot less incentive to hide or use a false identity, right? And it would create a more legal, fast-track way to naturalization and citizenship. You think parents should raise their kids? Yeah, I fucking do. Because all the teachers that I know and I talk to, the parents are so far removed from their child's education, but as soon as they hear that there's an LGBT book available in the fucking library for some kid who might have gender dysphoria, all of a sudden they're really concerned about their fucking kids' well-being and their kids' education. No, you just don't like gay people. Hence why we call you a bigot. Okay? You want to know who's voting in your elections? We already fucking do. We already fucking know who's voting in our elections, okay? 1,200 credible cases of election fraud in the last 20 plus years. 1,200. 1,200. Okay? Not even remotely enough to swing a local election in most major cities. Yeah, it is Jim Crow. It's called a poll tax. It's called disenfranchisement for people who don't have the necessary or proper identification. And that shit is difficult to get, okay? I've been trying to get an appointment for a real ID in North Carolina for 2 months. Every single day they release a few appointments that you can sign up for, and they are gone like that, okay? I have to drive like 2 hours away from my house to go get a real ID, and there's no guarantee that I'll even get a real ID because I had a real ID reservation back in 2018 when I got my ID updated, and I still didn't get the fucking gold star even though I had all the proper documentation, and I paid for it. And then when I asked, well, I paid for it, why don't I get it? And they said, well, you'll have to do it again. You'll have to pay for it again. Sorry. So it's not even guaranteed that you're going to be able to get the necessary identification for this voter law, right? That continuously gets shot down in the government because, or in the Senate, because Republicans know that it's voter disenfranchisement and it's going to hurt their voter base, not just Democrats, not just the left, right? Being patriotic is fascism to the modern left. This is fucking bullshit. I don't know who the fuck this guy is, okay? But he popped up on my feed yesterday, and just reading up to that point, I'm not even going to read the rest of it because I know the rest of it's going to be fucking fascist, white nationalist bullshit from some fuckface who likes Donald Trump and wants Donald Trump to keep bombing brown kids in foreign countries. Okay. Moving on. Last half hour sprint. We got all these to get through, but we can do it. We can do it. We can do it. Right? We can do it. I believe. Also, I remember I just have to heat up food, so I don't necessarily have to like cook a whole meal. But we'll see. Did that ASIN? Yeah, ASIN. Finance. Business. Ditto. Thanks to everybody for hanging out today. I really appreciate you. If you're not following the page, please think about giving the page a follow. Think about giving me a subscription if you appreciate the content and the articles that I'm reading and talking to you about, the headlines that we're going over. If you have a Twitch, if you have a Prime account, Amazon Prime account, you get 1 free Twitch subscription per month. So you can subscribe to the channel, and it doesn't cost you anything, and it shows your support for the channel, which is a huge boost for me, and I would really appreciate it. Chat's been real quiet today. If anybody wants to say anything in chat, any questions or anything you guys want to talk about or things that you heard, I'm open. I'm open to it. So hit me up. All right. Mad Dash. Last few things. I saved this video here. These are kids in Gaza. This is what they see. This is what they see every day. This is them playing. They're having fun. They think this is normal, right? Just like any kids when you were growing up playing cops and firefighter or whatever, or, Indians and cowboys. I don't know. This is normalized. Oh no, he ate it. Anyway, just thought I'd show that. So this is Senator James Lankford. Said the Democrats' demands in the Senate were absolutely absurd, and they asked for things, for instance, like ICE could not be at polling places. So we've been talking about that. We watched that video, that little clip from Steve Bannon the other day, talking about how the ICE and CBP being at our airports is like a test run for ICE being at our polling places in November.
What Democrats were asking for ICE and CBP on their quote-unquote reforms were absolutely absurd. They asked for things, for instance, like ICE could not be at polling places. Well, if you're not legally present, you shouldn't be voting in America.
You can't.
The Democrats were demanding that ICE agents would not go to a polling place.
That is called voter intimidation, okay? You can't vote as a citizen. Even if you went inside and tried to register that day, if your state has same-day registration, you would not be able to register as a non-citizen. It's a non-issue. It's not possible, okay? What I think is absurd is this man's fucking hair. What is this? What is going on here, okay? Please somebody explain it to me. What the fuck is happening on top of his head? As a bald man, okay, I'm calling you out and I'm saying, fix this. Fix this, okay? Whatever the fuck is happening here, it's a crime against humanity. Next up, Republican Mike Lawler. Right now he is being, there's a election against him, and he's in Rockland County, New York. Rockland County, that's actually where my wife is from. It's mostly, as far as I knew, it was predominantly Democrat, but the last election it went to Trump, and they have a Republican congressman. So I guess I haven't looked at the actual breakdown of the voting demographics of Rockland County. Republican Congressman Mike Lawler held a town hall in Rockland County. Veterans stood up and told him exactly what they thought of him and Trump. Lawler had them removed. That made it worse. The crowd turned on him. He had to leave. These are not protesters. These are veterans, people who served, who buried friends, who know what the war cost because they paid for it personally.
This is what I served my fucking country for! Freedom of speech, you piece of shit!
Feel free to leave. I'm a constituent. It's your question. If you're going to act like that, you've interrupted repeatedly. Hey, we're just going to wait until you're done. Answer the question, Howard. Freedom of speech,
That's
dude.
freedom of speech. Let him stay.
Let him stay. Let him stay. Let him stay. Let him stay. Let him stay. I want you to answer the question, just like all your constituents here.
People in the audience who are not comfortable with being recorded, please refrain from recording.
Dude, fuck you!
Yeah. So there's a pretty hardcore election going on there right now. There's a primary. When was this from? Oh, that's from October 6th. I forget who is running against him right now. Oh, Effie Phillips Staley. She was the one that's getting a lot of heat for being on Hassan's stream the other day on Saturday, and beforehand or whatever. She is a Tarrytown Village trustee who identifies as a progressive, launched her campaign in May. She previously worked with a nonprofit arts organization in the district and in New York City. Her priorities include issues like childcare, housing, and healthcare. I know she's given him a run for his money and trying to get him out because obviously, I mean, a lot of these people are probably, Republican constituents, and they're fucking fed up with this guy. So I don't think he has a lot of support. We talked about the $200 billion to fund the immigration war. We now have an Axios article that came out yesterday. Republicans are considering reductions in federal health spending to help pay for the budget bill containing as much as $200 billion to fund the Iran war and immigration enforcement. So, of course, we need more money for ICE, we need more money for CBP, and we need more money to bomb brown kids overseas in another country that these people probably have never even fucking gone to. So they're just going to take it literally from your health subsidies on the healthcare on the ACA market marketplace and that stuff. They're just continuing to loot your pockets. This was a pretty wild story. American Airlines has 77 regional planes sitting in storage because they can't find pilots to fly them. The expected U.S. pilot shortfall in 2026 is 24,000 pilots. Okay, training a new commercial pilot takes 2 to 3 years minimum and costs 6 figures. So American Airlines found a loophole. Partner with a bus company, brand the bus American Eagle, sell the seat on AA.com with a flight number, route passengers through TSA, let them pick a seat, check bags, earn AA Advantage miles. The entire experience is designed to feel like a flight in every way except for the part where you leave the ground. The economics are staggering. A regional jet on a 90-mile route needs 2 pilots, $100K apiece, a flight attendant, jet fuel, FAA maintenance requirements, and an aircraft that costs $20 to $30 million. The landline bus needs 1 driver and a highway. South Bend to Chicago O'Hare is 90 miles. That route doesn't make money with a regional jet anymore. It barely made money before the pilot shortage. The bus lets American keep selling connections through O'Hare to every destination in its network without operating a single flight. This is what the pilot shortage actually looks like. Not canceled routes, not smaller airports going dark. The airline just quietly reclassified a bus as a flight and kept charging accordingly. The TikTok exposing it has 13 million views because the passenger cleared security, sat at a gate, and watched her luggage get loaded onto a coach before it merged onto the interstate. The word bus appears once during booking in small text. Google Flights lists it as a tiny bus icon. The airline says customers are transparently informed, quote unquote. 72% of U.S. airports have already lost an average of 25% of their flights to the shortage, and landline is expanding, not shrinking. Philadelphia, Chicago, and now 5 regional airports are on the bus network. American Airlines is solving a $20,000 per pilot shortfall crisis by removing the pilot from the equation entirely. The bus is the product now. The flight number is just packaging. I'm gonna skip that one for now. We might save that for later. Last week, or maybe I think it was last week. OpenAI shut down Sora, which is their AI video building software app. Right, it creates AI videos and stuff like that. People were wondering why this $1 billion investment from like Disney into this company was just immediately going under. And it's like, why are they just throwing this away? And then they said, oh, we're going to focus on other areas that we want to put our time and our investment into. And we just don't think it's going to be in Sora. So sorry, everybody. Turns out it's because the ADL pressured them into getting rid of it because it could generate anti-Semitic content at scale. ADL research found that OpenAI's Sora, in particular, generated harmful content for at least 40% of our tests. OpenAI's decision to shut down Sora is a commendable case of a company acting decisively when its products are used to amplify hate. This wasn't even publicly announced. This is just according to the ADL, okay? And again, another pressure campaign by the ADL to shut down. I mean, obviously, fuck AI. We don't want this. But OpenAI didn't even come out and say, like, oh, it's because, you know, people are misusing it or people are using it to create anti-Semitic material. And so we think, you know, we should refocus. We should relook at this and maybe restructure it in a different way. No, they just got rid of it completely and never even mentioned that it was because of this reason. Trump yesterday, while Iran threatens American homes, oil heads to $200 and a ground invasion is being planned. While all of this is happening, this senile fuck is giving a demonstration on this picture right here of the fucking columns of the ballroom that was shut down. Right, they demolished the east wing of the White House in order to build this ballroom, and then a court said you can't do that, dude. You have to like go through the proper channels. There's like things you have to apply for, and they basically stopped construction. Well, apparently, according to Trump, it's back up and running. It's going again, and now they're gonna build like this huge base or underground structure underneath it. I presumably as like a bomb shelter or like a nuclear fallout shelter for Trump.
And that porch will be magnificent, looking in between the columns. They no longer, we took the stairs out that were in the south side and really replaced them with these stairs. So you have an open porch and you have the closed porch under the columns, overlooking the Washington Monument, the Jefferson Memorial, and the Lincoln Memorial / Monument. So that's great.
That's
this
great.
Is a view of the columns.
Oh, look at these beautiful columns.
They're going to be made. They're going to be hand carved, and they're beautiful. Top of the line.
greatest
They'll be
columns.
Corinthian, which is considered the best, most beautiful by far.
We're killing people indiscriminately in other countries, causing an energy crisis across the entire world and stripping U.S. citizens of their sovereign rights. And this motherfucker is talking about columns that are so unbelievably dated and ugly as fuck. Do you think we give a shit? Do you think anyone gives a fuck about this goddamn ballroom? You dementia-riddled fucking loser, bro. You are a loser. I'm going to save this one because I'd like to talk about that more in depth. Actually, I think I'll...
Epstein more than 70.
So this came out Sunday. Every bank that touched Epstein money has settled. JP Morgan. I kind of want to look more into this before going into it. So I save a lot of these miscellaneous headlines for later to talk about, to look more into.
Things.
And I'm running out of time. I have like 10 minutes left. So I'm trying to find ones that I really want to go over. This one's good. This is a great.
Several military bases.
So this is a stripper who works on several U.S. military bases, says the young soldiers are super depressed and blowing all their money because they're being deployed next week. That would be this week because this is from the 27th or so. This is Sean Ryan from Sean Ryan's show talking about how any kind of U.S. invasion of Iran is basically going to be a sacrifice, right? They're going to commit a lot of these these soldiers to this ground invasion. They're going to get killed. They're going to get decimated by Iran's defense, and it's going to be really damaging to U.S. morale. They're counting on it, though, I think, to basically get some of that, like 75% of people think that we're winning the war to be on their side and be like, well, we got to go in harder, right? We got to go in harder on this. We can't go in, not fully guns a-blazing, right? Fully willing to sacrifice these soldiers. So this stripper is saying that.
Something I have noticed lately is all the military guys are coming in and they're spending all of their money, and they're just like, it's sad. Like they're like kind of depressed, and they're like just coming in like, oh yeah, we're gonna have fun. Like we're getting, what is it called? Deployed? Like we're getting deployed next week, or like this is happening. I don't know. I don't want to spread misinformation or anything, but it's just like a lot of them are really kind, and to see these like young guys that look like my pinky toe, like they're like fetuses coming in and then dancing with them and then being like bye, and then it's actually like making me emotional. Like it's fucked up.
That's wild, dude. That is fucking crazy to me. But yes, we do know that they are being deployed. There are multiple battalions that are being deployed.
Okay, so I work at a strip club next to like.
Let's go ahead. I'm gonna wrap it up on this. I know I opened all these tabs, but I'm gonna wrap it up on this Sean Ryan video. We're gonna watch this. Now, I don't take Sean Ryan's word as gospel. I don't think anyone really should. But this is an interesting take on what the first U.S. invasion of Iran could look like. Okay, so let's watch this real quick.
But you were talking about some strategy here, and that made me think the potential deployment of U.S. ground troops makes me very nervous.
Yeah.
Citing recent reporting that the president is considering seizing Karg Island, Iran's main hub for oil exports. This is you quoted. I just think that would be a disaster, Kent said, of deploying U.S. troops there. It would essentially be giving Iran a bunch of hostages on an island that they could barrage with drones and missiles. Are you the only fucking person up there that's thinking straight? Because that's exactly what would happen. 100%. You're putting U.S. service members in a fishbowl for Iran to kill.
Yeah.
Because
Now, again, this is Joe Kent, right? He just resigned from the counterterrorism. He's the director of the Counterterrorism Center for the United States. He was put in this position because he is a Trump loyalist. He is a MAGA man through and through, baby. And literally when he resigned, Trump was like, yeah, I thought he was pretty weak on terrorism, on counterterrorism. Then why the fuck did you put him in that position? Why the fuck would you give him that job, bro? Like, what are you talking about?
They're stranded on a fucking island.
Yeah. I mean,
this is our strategy.
Yeah.
Who came up with this fucking strategy?
It sounds
Is
like
that Trump?
It sounds like Lindsey Graham. I mean, Lindsey Graham was on the Sunday shows.
Look at this wall, bro. Look at what is going on in the background here. What the fuck? This is just every veteran's like worst nightmare. Just bottles and bottles and bottles of alcohol and guns. What the fuck, dude? I don't know if I've ever seen this version of his set, but this is outrageous. This is the most American hog ass background I've ever seen, dude. Look at this. He's got the fucking M4 up here. He's got the fucking, what the heck is that called? Like a MP40 or some shit. He's got the Glock up top. I can't tell what's over here. It looks like a paintball gun or some shit. The fuck is this?
This is our strategy?
Yeah.
Who came up with this fucking strategy?
It sounds
Is
like
that Trump?
It sounds like Lindsey Graham. I mean, Lindsey Graham was on the Sunday shows
Lord.
yesterday talking about how great it would be. It would be just like Iwo Jima. I mean,
I keep mentioning Iwo Jima too because remember it took 70,000 military personnel to take the island and we lost 10%.
Insanity. And I mean...
And that was in World War II without fully automatic weapons, drones, mortars, ballistic missiles. We did not have the artillery and munitions that we had in World War II. We didn't have that shit that we have now, right? It would be so much worse.
I don't think the people who are pragmatic and are expressing their concerns, I don't believe they're being listened to. Now, obviously, the administration will push back and say, no, we're doing robust planning and we're hearing all voices, et cetera. But when I see ideas like that floated, and there's much worse ones out there as well, basically most of the formulas for putting boots in the ground inside of Iran are problematic. I guess is too late of a way to put it. They're bad plans.
They've already stated they want us to do it.
Yeah,
they're ready for it.
100%. I mean, that would be handing Iran basically a strategic victory. Because once they get our troops on the ground there, they're going to be able to kill some of them. We're going to take losses. And then we fall back into that cycle. Once we take losses somewhere, we say, oh, no, now we can't leave. We have to stay to avenge our fallen. It can't be all for nothing. We have to stay. We have to keep fighting. We saw this over and over again in the GWAT. Every single time we talked about any kind of withdrawal in Iraq or Afghanistan, it was the same argument. We've lost too much here. There's still more that we could do.
So real quick, I just want to bring up this point. I want to bring up this correlation here. I don't know. This is just me speculating. This is again not based on any type of like expertise, right? Okay. So we have Trump, who has been labeled as a Russian asset, right? And on multiple occasions, multiple things have pointed to him working alongside or favoring Putin, right? Recently, we've eased sanctions on Russian oil exports. We've eased sanction on Iranian oil exports. Iran is working alongside Russia in the Ukraine war. We have Tulsi Gabbard, who is the head of all of the national security for the entire fucking country, right? She has been labeled as a Russian asset as well by numerous sources on numerous occasions, okay? Now, I don't want to say, because it's just outrageous for me to even have this thought, right? Like, why would any president do this? But deliberately putting U.S. military personnel in harm's way to deliver a strategic win to Iran after we've eased sanctions on oil to Iran and Russia, I feel like Trump is purposefully destroying United States credibility in the world to tank the U.S. petrodollar, okay, to hand power to Russia. For what? Right? That's where I get stopped. Like, what is he getting out of it? What is Russia getting out of it? They're not even positioned to become a major superpower in the world, right? Compared to China, China is much more positioned or in a position to take the top spot from the United States as the world's largest superpower, right? Russia is not anywhere close to that. But a lot of these things that are happening are pointing towards Trump purposefully degrading the United States on the world stage. It just, I don't know why. I don't know why you would want to do that, right? But, I mean, behind the scenes, there could be more money to be made from that, right? They want to tear down the established world economy that's based and part and parcel to the United States petrodollar for something else to take its place, but I don't know what that is. I don't know if anybody knows what that is.
So, I mean, in terms of the Krog Island, that makes me nervous because I have heard so many people like Lindsey Graham and others that are not military people, that are not in the Pentagon, that are not reading intelligence every day, talk about it very flippantly. Like, oh, we'll just take that island. We'll just take their oil. I want to tell you guys, like, it's not 2003 anymore. You can't just put guys there and they'll occupy it. Like, there's ballistics, there's drones. They would be sitting ducks in that area. And as a matter of fact, like you said, the Iranians would probably be like, please take the island. We, we'll roll out the red carpet for you guys.
I mean, do I need to read your bio again? Why is he taking advice from Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz and whoever else? That's just
because they're the biggest supporters of Israel.
Career bureaucrats.
This is the problem.
And then you got a guy like you in there with tons of experience in war, in intelligence.
Yeah. And
also a ghoul, but whatever.
There's others too. There's plenty of us in there that can give him much better advice. I just hope the president reflects, and I know he's mad at me. I hope he reflects, and I hope he looks at the advisors he has around him currently that got him to the state that we're in right now, because we're not in a good state. He knows that, and he needs to start listening to people that are going to give him better advice that can give us a clear pathway out of this.
Who are some people that would give him better advice other than yourself?
Vice President D&I Gabbard and their teams. I think
bullshit.
The vice president and the D&I.
And
why would J.D. Vance give him better intel or ideas on plans? He's not military. He was not in the military. He went to fucking Yale and graduated with a law degree and then wrote a book about how his mom didn't like him more than she loved fucking pill popping. Suck my dick. And like I just said, Tulsi Gabbard is a fucking Russian asset, dude.
D&I, yeah. Yep. And there's good people at the Pentagon that can give you options.
So he's not taking advice from his own vice president?
I don't know. I wasn't at the vice president's level. I think they have a good relationship. I just, based on what I've seen and based on what we've seen in the public sphere, he has been taking more advice, obviously, from Lindsey Graham, from Ted Cruz, from Mark Levin on TV. than he has been from people who may say, "Hey,
Mark
sir."
Levin on TV. That's who he's getting advice from. Fucking.
In terms
Mark
of how
Levin.
easy and great of an idea this will be. I mean, so the media ecosystem, they're not giving him tactical military advice, but they were, I believe, in my opinion, a big part of echoing the Israeli talking points about no enrichment. You have to strike now. If you strike now, you'll be a hero. There was also this false narrative basically that said, like, hey, because the people were on the streets in January, if you take a couple strikes right now and you really hammer them, the rest is going to be easy. It's going to be a cakewalk. The people are going to rise up. They're going to overthrow the regime. They're going to love you. They're going to cut a deal. It's going to be quick and easy like Venezuela was. I think Venezuela did a lot to give us some false confidence in how quick and easy a regime change, regime modification, whatever you want to call it, can be. So people like Levin, people on Fox, New York Post, New York Times, et cetera, a lot of those talking heads, coincidentally, not so coincidentally, a lot of them were the same people who talked us into the Iraq War, convinced him how quick and easy this would be. But I mean, to your point, I think if he took some more advice from Vice President, from D&I Gabbard and their teams, I think we'd be in a much better spot, and I think we'd be able to carve our way out of this mess.
Man, wow.
Personally, I don't think there's any carving our way out of this mess, and I don't think they want to. Israel doesn't want to. The U.S. doesn't want to. Iran doesn't want us to. They're not asking for a ceasefire or an end to hostilities. They literally went, come on, give it to me, come to our shores. We're waiting to fuck you up. Also, this war, we're making more money off oil sales than we were before. We now own and operate and completely control the Strait of Hormuz, and we're making more money off of that by making ships and tankers and companies pay us $2 million in tolls. China's making money off this. Saudi Arabia is making money off this. The UAE is making money off this, right? Russia. Everyone is making money off this war. Why would anyone want it to stop?
How many troops do we have over there right now? Waiting. Is it
Honestly,
2,500 Marines on you?
I don't know. I mean, I see what you see on the news. I'm disconnected from all that.
How many has Israel sent?
Far less than us.
Bullshit. He fucking knows too.
Most of their military operations are taking place in Lebanon. They're doing a lot of air support and power projection via air, which is heavily funded by us.
Are they talking about sending ground force?
If they could, it'd be tiny. They just don't have. I mean.
So we'll do it.
So we would have to do it. Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
I mean,
We'll do it for them.
They could do a commando.
Israel did come out and say that if the United States decided to invade Iran, that they would have to go it alone, and the IOF, the IDF, the Israeli government would not send any reinforcements from Israel.
Raid or something.
So that was
that'd
confirmed.
Be about it. But in terms of any kind of meaningful hold ground, even for a limited amount of time, that would have to be American boots.
Oh, okay. That's kind of what I thought, but I'm getting angry, Joe.
I can tell. I hear you, man.
Really
I hear you.
Fucking angry. But oh man, it just no new wars. It just echoes in my head all day long.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Sean Ryan and anyone like Sean Ryan,
right back in war.
Completely avoid.
You get the Fell For It Again award. Congratulations. You get to guzzle Trump's cock and deal with the fallout of this and have to live with it for the rest of your fucking life. Okay, that's gonna conclude my stream for today. I gotta get ready. I gotta go eat some lunch, get ready for work. Thank y'all for hanging out. I really do appreciate you. Let's see. Who are we gonna raid? We gotta send our viewers to somebody talking about politics. Nobody's talking about politics right now. Nobody? Here we go. Mesmerized. Breaking news, day 31. Let's see what this channel is about. Oh, it's literally just That's just live cams. No, I'm not going to do that. I would rather send it to somebody who's putting in effort. Oh, yeah, we'll do Rob. Or Frogan. Eras, subathon, pick. Let's do Rob.
Of a pantheon. You could never write the succulent Chinese meal speech. You know what I mean? You could never write that. You would write that down.
All right, y'all.
And you'd
I
look
love
at
you
it on
so
the page
much.
and be like, this is
Thanks
so
for hanging out.
stupid.
Hey,
This is
also
so
good news. We did hit affiliate. I don't know if everybody saw that, but I can now make money off of ads on the channel. I can do all different kinds of different shit. I've been getting offers to do like sponsors and stuff. So thank you again for your support. I really appreciate helping me get to this point. And I'll be back on Thursday. I'll have a lot to talk about. I might try and like tone down a little bit on the Iran and Lebanon stuff and do some more of these other miscellaneous headlines that I didn't get to today. And then bring it back on Saturday again for another stream. I don't think I'm going to be doing game stream on Friday. I might do it on Sunday this week. I do have the whole weekend off, and I kind of want to get started on my deep dive. So I might use that time to focus on that. So thanks again for hanging out, though, today. I appreciate y'all, and I'll see you on Thursday.
The orange line is about the same, and the blue line is more. And look at right here, right in 2023. What happened? And it's interesting because like this, you can say that this is a. See, when I look at this graph, is an image of our society.
This is some guy Rob
fracturing.
Russo, some leftist based in Canada. I was turned on.